Little brother has taken control, shoveling dirt in every hole. Predators to condemn your soul, watching you and watching me. We're all connected but separated, misunderstood and so frustrated. A million armies of one have invaded, watching you and watching me. We live behind glass curtains and act like nothing's wrong. Soon you will belong. I know you're out there somewhere. We've watched you for so long. Wait for you to fall. We'll expose you all. I know you're out there somewhere watching me. The little brother wants to make headlines, be immortalized. Everyone's got an electric eye with the digital spies. They've watched you for so long. I know you're out there somewhere watching me. We the people have taken over. We the people are little brother, standing by to dethrone each other, watching you and watching me. Paranoid, the lens is our weapon, desensitized in our lust for attention, democratized by our voyeur obsessions, watching you and watching me. Slaves to perfection, don't let them project you as you are. Reveal your every flaw. I know you're out there somewhere. We've watched you for so long. Wait for you to fall. We'll expose you all. I know you're out there somewhere watching me. Little brother wants to make headlines, be immortalized. Everyone's got an electric eye with the digital spies. They've watched you for so long. I know you're out there somewhere watching me. I know you're out there somewhere. This is the new totalitarian state. 1,000 eyes are waiting for you to break. Stay in line, don't make a mistake. We're watching. We watched you for so long. We wait for you to fall. We will expose you all. I know you're out there somewhere watching me.
Let your experience begin right now. From high atop the mountains of British Columbia to you listening around the world, this is Spaced Out Radio. You can follow us on our website, spacedoutradio.com, on Twitter, @SpacedOutRadio. Give our Facebook page a like, Spaced Out Radio Show. You can follow us on Instagram, Dave Scott, SOR, or on our YouTube channel, Spaced Out Radio Show.
Let us play with all our toys, they let us think that we're big boys, they let us make the louder noise, but women rule the world. They let us think we're Superman, that we're the only ones who can be strong, but we break on command, cause women rule the world.
Buckle up, space travelers. It's time to go for a ride as we are live on Spaced Out Radio.
Ignition sequence start. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Said the deeper I go, the deeper I fall.
Good evening and welcome to Spaced Out Radio tonight. I am your host, Dave Scott, and thank you so much for tuning in and listening in at the spacedoutradio.com, our website, and on Spreaker. As we come in from the frozen Canadian tundra, battle our way past the wild animals, sidestep Bigfoot, and enter Uncle Jimbo's cabin, stoke the fire, heat this place up, and broadcast you live on this Tuesday night, early Wednesday morning if you're on the East Coast. Here at Spaced Out Radio, we do this thing 3 hours a night, 7 days a week. Why? Well, we get often asked that. Well, it's because we want to be your official one-stop shop when it comes to the supernatural, paranormal, conspiratorial, ufological, and so much more. Like our music? If you head to the new look Spaced Out Radio website, you'll hear the guitar god himself, Ron "Bumblefoot" THAL, formerly of Guns N' Roses. Check out a couple of his music videos by clicking on the Bumblefoot banner. Also, check us out on Twitter, @SpacedOutRadio. Give our Facebook page a like, Spaced Out Radio Show. On Instagram, I can be followed at Dave Scott, SOR. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, Spaced Out Radio Show. And, of course, our website is spacedoutradio.com with a brand new look 2 days in. At this time, we'd like to say hello to those listening in on the SHR Media Network, in the Spaced Out Radio chat room on Spreaker, along with our fans on Facebook at Euphoria Chronicles, Chronicles of the Unknown, Forest Moon Paranormal, and our flagship chat room, the SOR Space Travelers. Hey, Space Travelers, you can now head to Spaced Out Radio's website and sign up for the SOR Space Travelers. Why? Well, for only $5 a month, yeah, just $5, we'll be doing monthly prize draws, have private group interviews, access to a special section on our website just for you, and of course, much, much more. We're going to give you a hell of a lot more than just access to our archives. Also, check out our new feature, the SOR Space Wire. Space Out Radio's news editor, Eric Markham, has posted some interesting stories from around the world. Tonight's show is brought to you by Rivulet Reiki and Readings, providing healings in person or at a distance. PurplePlates.com, helping heal your body, mind, and soul. The new Agora newspaper is the official paper of this show, and the iTunes app Spirit Storybox, the official ghost hunting app of Spaced Out Radio. Tonight we dig deep into the stories and the experiences of human abduction by extraterrestrials. For some, it's a peaceful, enlightening, and spiritual experience that changes a person's life and really puts them on a path to help others. For those on the other side of the ledger, it's a nightmare that never ends. Surgeries, probes, and other scary phenomena that have made some go as far as commit suicide or attempt it because they figure it must be easier being dead than going through the living hell of being abducted by ETs. It really is a coin toss when you think about it. But there are some commonalities. Being taken and not being able to remember if it happened or not. Feeling tired, sleepy, or sore. Bruised. Feeling like something just isn't right. Audrey Mewins runs the Starborn support group out of the state of Maine. Her website is starbornsupport.org. Her goal is to help bring experiencers together and trying to find some common help for those who are in the know. And in the end, isn't it just that? We all just want to know what is going on. Audrey, welcome to Spaced Out Radio tonight. Good to have you on with us for the full 3-hour show. How are you?
I'm great. Thanks for having me.
Well, I'm glad to finally get you on the air because I think it's absolutely fantastic that you are doing what you do with your group, Starborn Support. Before we get into that, and we have a lot of time here, I would love to get to know you and my audience to get to know you a little bit, because for everybody who is in this field, there's that experience, there's that I don't even want to call that an experience. There's that time where you just change and you realize that there's something more out there. When it came to alien abduction and extraterrestrials, did something happen to you, or was it somebody close to you, or was it something that you just needed to scratch with your own finger because it was an itch that you just had to figure out?
Oh, it's a combination of all of those, I think. Growing up, I have an identical twin sister. So we started our life in Athens, Ohio. We moved there about 6 months of age, and it was really kind of just out in the middle of nowhere. And her and I would experience things at night. For the most part, it would happen at night. And, as a young child, when you're not told that this isn't supposed to be happening, it was pretty normal for us. We thought everyone went to bed and were visited by these beings. And, it was not a scary thing for us so much in the younger years because it was so normal. But when we started to talk about it and we were told that it didn't exist and that we must be dreaming, and we just couldn't understand because, we've never heard of two other people experiencing the same dreams or, anything even close. And being young and shut down so young, it's hard to cope with. So I was lucky in the fact that I always had my sister there. So when I went into myself and stopped talking about it because I got sick of people telling me that, it's not real, we would be so scared at night and say, the bald man's coming. And our parents couldn't figure out, what it was. And, of course, you've got to realize that in this paradigm where it's been covered up and you've been made to believe that this isn't real, it's really hard for people to wrap their minds around this at all. And in the early 70s, there was some information out there, but nothing like there is today. So we were very sheltered. We didn't spend our days, as some people like to try and believe, watching sci-fi and influencing our young minds and putting this in somehow into our psyche and creating this ourselves. That's just silly when you think about that. Back in those days, the sun would come up, we'd be outside, come in when it went down. I think we got maybe 2 channels on TV that you had to climb up the outside antenna and hang on a certain way just to get reception for, the 2 channels that we got. So we were very unaffected by society in that way. And, the phenomenon affects not only, one generation in families. We've been doing research for a long time, as well as other people, and comparing the research. And it seems to be a genetic thing that can go back hundreds of years in certain family lines. So, it was a very, very scary thing in the probably about 6 or 7 years of age, when we started to kind of internalize things and get really confused. And where one of our outlets was writing in journals. We had gotten some journals for Christmas or something, and it was one of those cute little locked diaries, and we would, spend our mornings or middle of the night recording what we could, drawing pictures of them. I mean, they had a huge influence in our lives. And, it wasn't until the 80s when Whitley Strieber's book came out that my mom was in the grocery store line, checkout line, and that, book with the famous front cover of that gray, a lot of people think that that's right where it started for people to really see what they looked like, was that cover of Communion. My mother saw that cover.
You know what?
She had looked in her journals.
That is the only book I have never been able to finish.
Really?
I started reading it in 1999, and when it got to the point, I was a brand new father. My daughter was maybe 4 or 5 months old, and when it got to the point in the book where Whitley was sitting on the spaceship and he looked to his side and there was his son sitting beside him, that freaked me out so much, I closed the book and I've never opened it again.
Yeah, and it's interesting that you bring up that point. Parents and families, of course, will struggle with this, especially the paternal, the father, the man that's supposed to protect his family, and they're so helpless to do anything about this that I think they often suffer the most, and from personal experience, it's hard for people to know this is going on. I mean, it's one thing when it's going on to you, but when it's happening to your children and, other members of your family, and you're supposed to be that protector, so it doesn't surprise me that part really affected you in that way. It's a frightening experience, and, a lot of the TV and different shows that we've done and other experiences, people turn the TV on, they see the fear. Hollywood only focuses on that. It sells. It works. And, of course, it's terrifying and frightening. And, I get so many emails every time one of the episodes will air that we've done of people feeling really bad. And you can't, because it's all part of it. And the more enlightening experiences are often just kicked to the side because, that's not Hollywood. That's not what sells. They also want people to have that fear connection with these beings. And, people ask me all the time, because my sister and I have both been part of the hybrid program, which I'm sure you've heard of, but other listeners may not understand what that is. It is these beings are removing genetic and physical samples from experiencers or abductees like my sister and I, and creating a hybrid race. Now, of course, that's very invasive. That's, rape. That's so bad to the human culture. But if you think of it in a way that they're trying to preserve a species that could be threatened or that is threatening. So when we go in and we try to rescue an animal, what do? We go in, we dart them, we get in and out as quickly as possible with as little disruption as possible. So they wake up, they shake it off. Basically, they've just been abducted. So it's the people, it's their minds and the conditioning, the social conditioning of what's okay. But when you experience this and you start to get back the memories one way or another, you begin to understand that once you let go of the fear part, there is going to be a whole nother flooding of experiences coming, because once you get past that fear, that's the barrier that we have between us. Fear is dangerous. Fear will hurt them. It will hurt us. So obviously, going in just like we would with a tiger is the best way to do it. But once you're not scared and you can walk right in and sit with them, and they will let you understand more and let you retain more. And as the time approaches when whatever's going on is going to start to really kick in and make sense, experiencers are activated in one way or another. A lot of people like to call it downloads. I think that it is more of an activation. At one point, I was on a class on a craft in a classroom setting, which many experiencers will talk about. So we're being taught something. We're in this setting that's comfortably human for us. They make it seem like it's normal, just a classroom. And, I was there, and usually they'll not let you remember a lot, but they did let me remember this whole experience in the classroom. And I just looked at the teacher and I said, what is the point of you teaching us all of this if only to be forgotten when we're returned? And what they basically told me, it's cut and dry. It was everything that you need to know lay dormant inside you and will activate when the time is right. So, I don't know what the actual percentage is of what they call dormant DNA. It's estimated we use maybe a fraction of 1% of our brain. Now, the rest of it they call junk. No, that's not junk. I think that's, the programming part where that's probably what will start to activate the experiencers. And then sometimes it can be a gradual thing. Sometimes when it's your turn to do your part in this, you'll just get a flooding of it all at once. And, there's waves of this going on. And since 2006, I've been part of this, starting Starborn support and working with thousands of experiencers and just watching the high strangeness take over. And it's completely natural for us, once this starts to kick in. And you just kind of know what you need to do. And I think that's, exactly what they're talking about with this dormant information. And, when they want you to do something or you're here for a reason, it really does seem natural. And they will be there for you. They cannot tell you everything. They've told me many times that you need to find this out on your own. And for an experiencer, this is the most frustrating answer because we want to know, we want answers, and even just being human, it's just something that is hardwired in us. We need to know, we want somebody to tell us, and, it's hard to be told you need to figure this out on your own. But they leave the breadcrumbs and you follow the path, and once you're on the right path, things put themselves together, and it's amazing to be part of. I don't know, I know you're an experiencer now, but have you ever been around a group of other experiencers, Dave?
Yes, I have. And you know what I found amazing about that is the energy that you pick up from being around others who have had contact or any type of spiritual activity around them. I can tell you immediately. I read a friend of mine the other day. I promised him I wouldn't say what it was on the air, but when I read him the other day, it was like I was watching a movie in my head. I don't consider myself psychic, okay? I consider myself maybe a tad intuitive, but when I was telling him what I was seeing, I watched his face go from a smile to absolute shock and disbelief that I was actually telling him what was going on, and it was strictly his energy that was giving it to me.
Exactly. And, that's the amazing part is the recognition of each other and the way that the energy frequencies raise when we're around each other. It's like nothing anybody's ever experienced before. And in 2006, I had been through what I call my spiritual awakening. For years and years, I struggled with the fear. I mean, it's scary. You're being told it's not happening. You think you're crazy. You're going nuts. You don't know what's going on. And for myself and my sister, like I said, we were not influenced by the media or by movies or any of that. It was total, WTF, what is going on? We had no clue. And in our teens and early 20s, it was happening so much. And this is when the hybrid program kicked in, and we were getting the experiments and the removal and surgeries. And I've had many, many different surgeries, my first one being at 14 or 15 years old for unexplained scarring in the reproductive system, and it's just been one headache and one fear-packed moment after another. So we said, all right, we need to figure out what's going on here. My sister and I did. So we ended up through a series of high strangeness and coincidences, which there's no such thing. we were led to some people that could help us. Now, back then, there was really no one. John Mack had his group going, but he was killed shortly after we reached out and tried to get some help there, and it was just a strange series of events, and eventually our case landed on a MUFON, Mutual UFO Network investigators table in Massachusetts. And this man was just wonderful, and he's nothing but caring and loving and really wanted to help us. So, what he did was separate times he would regress us, and that's where I get my hesitation. And when I tell people, put the brakes on, don't let anyone just put you under, because when you open that box, that door, there's no closing it. And everything that was supposed to be forgotten is now staring you right in the face. Now, being what I believe with my heart and soul, benevolent beings, they understand the fragileness of the human psyche, and they realize that these things will traumatize and, affect a person negatively. So, I always have the argument when people say, they're bad and malevolent, and why do they remove the memories then? Why do they care? Why do they go out of their way to make sure they tuck you back in bed? For the most part, they do make mistakes. My sister and I, being twins, we were in bunk beds, and we'd wake up in each other's pajamas in reverse on the other bed and things like that. But, we looked exactly alike when we were young. So opening that box did more harm than good at that time. So, I went in with all these questions and fear, and I left with some answers that didn't make sense and even more fear. So I, spiraled for a long time, just didn't want to even think about it. Sorry, not doing this again. And really just went out of control for years, trying to put it out of my mind, trying to convince myself I was crazy. That would be a much easier thing to deal with, to have an explanation for, why this is happening is really, it's intense. When you start to put the pieces together and you start to realize how huge this really is, it's very overwhelming. So it was a many years of just self-harm, crazy lifestyle. Like, I don't really care. This is just doesn't make sense. And it affected me negatively for many, many years. In fact, it took a near-death experience in 2004 to really kick in what I call my spiritual awakening. And the event itself, that was when I was open to the new reality that these beings are not just, the stereotypical grays with the big eyes. I think that those particular beings are the doctors, scientists type, so they do the hands-on stuff, very advanced. But when it comes to everything else, there's so many other species, from the angelic to, the mantis and spirit world. It's all connected, and once you get that opening, which many, many experiencers report near-death experience. Now, the experience alone I want to go into. I don't know how much time we have left for a break, so it's going to take a while.
We have about 2 minutes here, but I would love it if you could quickly just tell us about your spiritual awakening that happened to you.
Sure, yeah. The near-death experience was, like I said, in 2004. I'll get into that whole thing after the break, because you need to understand what happened that, really clicked it in, because I was actually saved by these beings from, being killed. So that'll be a whole nother story. Now, let me go into when Starborn support was started was, several years later of really being confused now. Who are these beings? They're not scary. It's a more human type. So, when this angelic being came to me after the 2-year really kick-in activation, spiritual awakening, and asked me, to begin my work, and that's when they themselves named my group. So, they said it was time. I started a group, and that was to call it Starborn Support, that we would help many, and everybody involved would become ambassadors for the planet. So, people are like, why do you do this? It's like, well, what was I going to say? No. I have something better to do. Sorry. It's a beautiful, angelic being, which I have drawn a picture of her, and she looks very much like the Mary and the angels and different beings from biblical texts that go way back. And, they really do help me through what I do now, and, including saving my life. And that's where I'm going to pick up when we come back from break, because that whole experience is so overwhelming and unbelievable. And I always get emotional talking about it, because it was, I was dead, and they brought me back. And it gets exciting after that. So.
Absolutely, we can do that. Audrey Mewins is our guest tonight on Spaced Out Radio. Her website, starbornsupport.org. She helps ET experiencers try and figure out what is happening with them. It's almost like a confessional for everybody. It's almost like counseling for everybody. And when you have people who understand, it makes it just that much easier. You're listening to Spaced Out Radio. I am your host, Dave Scott. We'll be back right after this break.
Would you like to become one of our space travelers? All you have to do is click on the Space Travelers icon at spacedoutradio.com. For only $5 a month, you can get access to some great prizes, as well as private monthly shows, newsletters, and a members-only section on our website. Become a space traveler today.
Hi there. This is your medium, Joanna, from Spaced Out Weekend, 2 Mediums and a Large. I would love it if you would come and join us with host James Tyson every other Sunday on Spaced Out Weekend. Together, we will take your calls and your questions live. Our goal is to provide you with a positive outlook on deep questions that you may have. Questions regarding love, relationships, money, or whatever else is on your mind. Come and check us out at spacedoutradio.com.
Every Saturday and Sunday night, as Dave Scott wanders aimlessly in the wilderness, you can come hang out with me, James Tyson, in Spaced Out Weekend. Starting at 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern, I'll take you along as we talk with some of the best experts in their fields. SpacedOutRadio.com is the place to find us. So sit down, relax, put your feet up, enjoy the topics like the paranormal, supernatural, intuitiveness, and so much more. Hope to see you there.
Hey everybody, this is Patrick Webster Small, and I'm here to bring you the Webster Phenomena every Saturday night, live at 8 p.m. Pacific, 11 p.m. Eastern. If you're looking for aliens and extraterrestrials, well, we've got them. Big and tall, short and small. You're bound to find what you're looking for, so join me on the Webster Phenomena right here on Spaced Out Radio.
Visit purpleplates.com today. For over 40 years, the Purple Energy Plates have been delivering amazing results for their many customers. Inspired by the great genius Nikola Tesla, the harmony, healing, and energetic effects of the plates have proven over and over to be beneficial and often miraculous to thousands of customers. With their money-back guarantee and the many benefits, how can you afford not to get one? Check their site for daily specials and choose from their many energy products. You won't be sorry. Visit them today at purpleplates.com for mind, body, and spirit, and expect a miracle.
Have you ever wondered about those weird and strange creatures people have reported throughout history? Do you wonder if those stories are real? Me too, and that's why I started Cryptopia.us. Hey, this is Rob Morphy, crypto historian. Join me once a month on Spaced Out Radio with Dave Scott, where we will get into the odd and bizarre reports, from the Dover demon to hairy hominids and everything in between. I will break down what people like you and me are seeing at spacedoutradio.com.
Looking for a place to advertise at a very reasonable cost?
Look no further than Spaced Out Radio.
SpacedOutRadio.com has an advertising tab that you can click on to check out our daily, weekly, and monthly packages to play on radio
or our website, including social media.
From commercial spots to banners, we have it all.
Check out our competitive pricing today.
Hi there, I'm Butch Witkowski, lead investigator with U4 Cop. On the final Monday of every month, you can listen to me and host Dave Scott on Spaced Out Radio's Strange Days. We're going to get to the heart of the matter when it comes to what's happening out there. People are seeing and experiencing things from ET contact to Bigfoot, and I want to hear about it. Your experiences are what we investigators need to help solve these unknown mysteries. So tune in at spacedoutradio.com to the final Monday of every month from Butch Witkowski's Strange Days.
Want to connect with us online? Find us on Facebook, Spaced Out Radio Show, on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, on Instagram, Dave Scott SOR, on YouTube, Spaced Out Radio Show, and our website is spacedoutradio.com. All right, space travelers, here comes the second half hour of Spaced Out Radio. Welcome back to Spaced Out Radio tonight. I am your host, Dave Scott. Good to have you with us on this Tuesday night. Thanks so much for tuning in. And remember, take a look at our new look website, spacedoutradio.com. We got lots of good information on there. We have a new news section brought to you by our SOR Spacewire News Director, Eric Markham. We have our team up there. We have Bumblefoot, our rock and roll guitar god himself, who brings us into the music. And of course, we have the SOR Space Travelers, which you can sign up for just $5 a month. Give it a try. You get a bunch of swag along with it. It's going to be really, really cool once we start getting a bunch of people posting in there as well. Reminder, tomorrow night on the show, James Borg and Audrey will be back from Euphoria Chronicles as we will talk about more alien talk with our resident Pleiadian friend Audrey and James Borg as well. If you want to follow us on Twitter, you can do so at Spaced Out Radio. Give our Facebook page a like, Spaced Out Radio Show. On Instagram, I can be followed at Dave Scott, SOR. Our YouTube channel is Spaced Out Radio Show. Subscribe to that to hear our archives. And our website is spacedoutradio.com. Tonight we are talking with Audrey Mewins, her website, starbornsupport.org. She helps experiencers come together as one to talk about their experiences, to almost counsel each other. Audrey, welcome back.
Hi.
Good to have you with us tonight. Appreciate that.
Great. Yeah, it's good that it's 3 hours. We can start to really scratch the surface here. And,
Absolutely. Right before the break, you wanted to talk about your near-death experience where you believe that extraterrestrials saved your life. And you said it's quite emotional, so I would love for you to take the time to get into that.
Sure. Now, let me just set the platform here where we were. The fear, the regression session happened in the early 90s. Now, during this time, we also met a man named Matt Moniz who helped us a lot through this. Now, Matt was very close with Bud Hopkins and worked closely with him. He has since come out as an experiencer, but he's very important to my sister and I's story because when we needed him, he was there, but when we met him in person here on this plane of existence on Earth, we recognized him immediately because back in the 80s or early 90s, we were introduced to this man on a craft by the great ET. My sister and I were brought to this small room. It was fairly dark. Some benches kind of built right into the wall. So we were sitting there wondering, what's going on, what's next. And the door opens, and there was a group of ETs that brought this man in and just left him in the room with us. So we had that encounter. It was something that, we didn't recognize him at the time, so we kind of put it off in the back of our minds until we walked into a place where my brother's band was performing, and that experience or energy that we get when we can recognize each other, I don't know if it's a soul signature or just the frequency, kicked in, and we looked around, and in the corner was this man looking right at us, and my sister and I were just like, oh my God, that's him. That's the one we met on the craft. So, that was a very powerful moment, and he was there to kind of guide us into the future as far as understanding what's going on, being there for us, he wasn't out at the time, so for almost 20 years we had to keep that secret of where we met him. And then finally in 2012 at our first Experiencers Conference, he came out and told everyone publicly how he met my sister and I. So that was a very interesting part of this. And one of the TV shows we did, Monsters and Mysteries in America, focused on that a little bit. And it's very intense to be told that you're nuts, be confused, and walk into a place and see someone that was there on the craft that knew exactly what was going on, too. So it was a little bit of, okay, this is our aha moment. This is real. What do we do from here? He kind of took our hand, guided us through, and, really, like I said, we were spiraling out of control with fear. So many experiencers go through this stage. There's that fear, and then there's the denial, and then there's the running, and a lot of experiencers try to self-medicate or get really depressed or self-harm. I mean, it's a natural cycle for someone going through that much extreme circumstance. So it really was taking its toll, and my twin and I had a falling out in 2003, and it was, I believe, midsummer. And for the first time, we were separated. I was so upset. I went to Florida, didn't tell anybody where I was going, just made a sudden change of life to try to run away from it all. Ended up going to stay with my aunt and uncle out there, and I had never been to Florida before. So in 2004 came along, the spring, I went out to work with the company that I worked for a very long time. For Daytona Bike Week, we set up and sold leather and other different events at the tents that you see there. So I went out there, and for the first time, I got to experience the Florida coast. And it was so beautiful, and I've always had a healthy fear of the ocean, and never, even as a child, was just intimidated. There's more about our space has been explored than our own oceans. There's things out there that we cannot see, that we don't even know about, and of course there's the fear of drowning or being hurt by a shark or something. For whatever reason, I was always very, very cautious when it came to the ocean. Well, after my week in Daytona, I went back to my aunt and uncle's, and I had started working at a florist and had met this man named Kip who was working with me. And I said, let's all go to Ormond Beach, Daytona Beach line. It's right where the two meet. And I said, it's so beautiful out there, and, the real busy week just ended. Let's go to the beach. And, when I got there, we parked on the beach, and I'm looking in the water. I'm like, we're in Florida. It's beautiful. It seemed like the perfect day. There was no red flags, nothing that you'd be alarmed by. So, Kip was in the water. My aunt and uncle were on the beach, and I said, I'm going to go up to the water and be brave, and I'm going to go in the water. And I went in a little bit above my knees, and the next thing you know, I was just grabbed by a rip current. It was so fast, I didn't even know what was going on. Now, Kip was in the current too, but he was right at the end of it where he could get out, and he took all he could to get out and to get me help, because I just kept getting pulled in farther and farther and farther. And at this time, I'm scared at first, watching the beach get farther away. No matter what I did, I'm fighting my hardest. I'm like, why am I getting pulled out? Why is it getting farther away? I had no knowledge of what a rip current was, how to get out of it, and I've since learned you got to swim, parallel and try to get out the lengthwise instead of, towards the shore. But at that time, you don't have time to think. You can't scream because you're being pulled under by the ocean, and the power of the ocean and the speed in which it happened was just blowing my mind. I was fighting all I could. Now, when you're in a rip current, the ocean just pulls back, and it pulls you with it, but all of a sudden you're standing on the bottom of the ocean as the huge wave builds behind you. So I'm standing there, and I'm looking behind me and seeing this thing build, and I would jump right before the wave would come crashing down on me to try to get momentum to push myself through the wave and up. there's only so many times you can do that, and I finally found myself above my body, and I remember looking towards the shore. I didn't have any fear at this time. I looked down at myself, and I could see myself fighting, and I knew, okay, I'm going to die. And I looked to the beach, and I remembered seeing all these lights and these hundreds of people that were now like ant-sized and getting smaller by the second, and thinking, oh, my God, this is all for me. I'm going to die. Well, at that time when I thought that, I was snapped back into my body, and I heard off to my right and a little bit behind me this male voice yelling my name. And he's saying, Audrey, Audrey. And I'm like, oh, my God, who's behind me here yelling my name? Who would know my name? I said, everybody that I know is on the beach. And it was so fast that thought came to me. And then I turned around, and all of a sudden I see this blonde. He's got some kind of a flotation device. He's yelling my name. And I remember seeing his eyes. His eyes were the most amazing eyes I've ever seen. They almost had this amber fire to them, but they were blue in color, which, was shocking to me because there was actual light coming from them. And he said, Audrey, Audrey, and he threw me a rope. He said, take this rope, Audrey, because this next wave is going to do us in. So I did, and I wrapped it around my wrist, and that very next thing I remember is waking up on the beach. There was 5 lifeguards and a whole crowd around me, and I just pushed everybody off me. I said, where is he? And they're like, who? I said, the blonde that saved me. And Kip kind of stepped forward and was right by my side at this time, and they were like, no, Audrey, it took 5 lifeguards swimming as hard as we could. We almost had to call the Coast Guard. And then they took off really quick after they got this call, and they went, and apparently that day was one of the most active rip current days ever. So along the Florida coast, there was 12 to 14 people that got caught in that rip current system that died. So 5 more people at Ormond Beach died. So Kip and I were the only 2 that actually got out, got saved, and were able to remain. Well, when we were at the hospital, he comes in the room and he said, Audrey, I saw him. I saw the blonde. That was your guardian angel. And we looked at my arm, and there was rope burns around my arm. Now, at this time, I didn't realize, how many people were dying right after I got pulled out of the water, and that's why they ran. We got back into work the next day, and he had already started telling everybody who knows that this guardian angel came and pulled me out of the ocean. And at that time, I didn't know anything about the Pleiadian races, or, didn't really give angelic things any thought at all, and was really confused. I started obsessing and putting an ad out on the radio station. I put a personal ad out just asking that if the blonde that saved me could please contact me so I could thank him. Well, as time went on, I started thinking, well, maybe, I should go down to the library and look at maybe surfers that have passed there and try to pull up articles and see if I can see his face, because I'll never, ever forget it. And, eventually it died down, but in my heart, I knew, that something saved me. And I saw him, he knew my name, and like I said, Kip never strayed from the fact that she is not lying. This happened. I saw him. And being the only person in the current that was able to get out, he was there. He was close enough to be able to see him. And, that's when things started to really kick in after this near-death experience, which surprisingly, in our research and working with so many experiencers, the percentage of people who have gone through a near-death it's shocking how many, and it was one of those things that I, landed back here, and it was almost like I was out of my element, because now I understand that this thing is huge and it exists, and what was it? So the vision started, the more enlightening experiences started with the Pleiadians, is who they told me that they are, and they are, the angelic beings, and you mentioned Palladian earlier during your intro, and that was interesting because, they are a huge part of what's going on. And when Kip and I ended up, because we did start a relationship after that, a lot of things went wrong. Had some, possible MyLab, which is military abduction stuff going on here now too, and it just really got scary. So things happened and it didn't work out. Well, he always believed and he always talked about this. Now, let's jump forward a little bit, and I think it was 2011. I hadn't talked to Kip in many, many years. Since probably 2005. So, I'd moved on and since went through my awakening and got put here. And, he texted me randomly out of nowhere one day. And he was a lot older than I and already having problems with his liver. And so I knew, he was sick when we broke up. And he sends me this random text. He says, "Hi, Audrey." He says, I saw your blonde again. And I didn't even know who it was at the time. And I was like, who is this? He says, me. He said, I just graduated hospice. And I was like, whoa, wait a minute. What did you just say? He said, I saw your blonde again. He said, I was in hospice care, and this is end of life. They were letting him go. He was dying. He said that he did die. He crossed over, and he was with this blonde that saved me from the ocean, and a few other beings like him. And they said, you always believed in her and in us, so we're going to let you go back. So, picture this. This guy dies in hospice. The family's there. The medical personnel are there. And then he comes back, sits up, gets up, and walks out the door to go get his motorcycle back from the person that inherited it. So he had several more years. They let him come back, and he actually just passed, I found out, after not hearing anything from him. He always would call me on the anniversary or send me a text or an email and let me know, happy anniversary to your near death. So when that didn't happen, I got a little concerned and Googled it, and he did end up passing in November, which, made me think, why now? They let him come back only to take him now. And, that's huge for me because, a lot of experiencers are starting to now feel that so much is going on, and they're starting to figure this out that, I think we're really close to having some kind of disclosure, not as people think, as the government is not going to tell us the truth. They've been spending trillions of dollars trying to make this all disappear and not be true and distort the facts. So I think the experiencers themselves will come forward in a huge way and start to expose the truth for what it is. So it's a very intense thing to deal with. And, when you get into this near-death stuff, too, and then you find out that you're not the only one and that other people are reporting this and they have, little boosts in, enlightenment after, and they just come back as a different soul almost, So the visions were really intense after this, and they didn't make any sense. And eventually I was led back north to try and find these people that helped me back when. And, of course, Matt Moniz was there. I found him very easily. And the investigator from MUFON was just getting ready to move to Atlanta. And when he was moving the next day, and I told him, I need to see you. He was up here within hours with his wife regressing me. So I was ready. I said, I need to see more. I need to know. So this hypnosis session was a lot more productive, a lot less fear, and a lot came out. Now, this was back in 2006 before I even thought about the Starborn support. I thought I couldn't even help myself, never mind help others. So as I come out of that experience, I'm thinking that it's only been like 15 minutes. I remember being the countdown when he was putting me under the session. I don't remember anything else, and I thought, okay, that wasn't very eventful. Well, there were several things that happened with the hypnosis tapes after they were transcribed and everything was done. It was attempted to be mailed to me on several different occasions, never got here. All of our old tapes that we did way back with him had since disappeared. We cannot find copies of that. We've tried. Things tend to disappear. So, I kind of put it out of my mind thinking, well, there wasn't really anything really interesting on that tape anyway. Well, last year at our Experiencers Speak conference, I get a phone call, and I hadn't talked to this investigator in 9 years at the time. And he said, Audrey, it's time I come. And I was like, oh, great, I can't wait to see you. Well, the first thing he does when he comes to the hotel where the conference was called me aside, and he said, Audrey, I have something for you. And he handed me 2 cassette tapes. And, I'm thinking, okay, this session was 15 minutes. How can there possibly be 2 tapes? So he gives me the tapes. He says, these are the tapes from the last session. He says, in these tapes, you're talking about exactly what you're doing today. So I finally have these tapes, and of course, I don't have a tape recorder, because who does these days? Never mind one I can trust not to eat it. So I'm sitting on these tapes for close to a year now, and started listening to them just days ago. And of course, hearing that and not remembering that and hearing the intensity of it was something that I can only listen to in little sessions, because I will start to get triggered, and the fear is still there. That is the hardest thing to overcome, and I don't think anyone ever truly does. But to deal with it and to transmute it into something more positive is very hard to do. But I work with people, and that's number one focus is even if you're lying to yourself and you're still scared, tell yourself, I'm not scared, and the breathing and just the de-escalation with that helps enough to get you through it. So again, the regression in hypnosis is not always it's definitely not the first course of action you want to do. You definitely want to reach out to someone who's been there and who can help. Now, the need for this is so huge now that we've started to merge with other groups to try to have experiencer support in every state, in every country. So I'm working really closely with the Edgar Mitchell Foundation for Research into Terrestrial Encounters. Now, I don't know if you've had anyone from Free on the show yet, but the founder, Ray Hernandez, actually found me and I found him through an experience that brought us together. So, things are very interesting right now, and everything's connected. There's no doubt there's something huge going on in the times that we live in.
We have had Lynn Hartram from the Free Experiencers on here checking us out, and we are trying to and efforting to get Ray as well. We just haven't had a chance to hook up on a time yet with Free, because I think that's an important place to go with everything. We have about 2 minutes before we go to break. I want to ask you about your own fear, because you sound, with your experiences, that you're very brave, you're very conscious about what is going on. Yet for a lot of people, there is this fear that seems to stick around extraterrestrials. Do you feel fear in knowing that they are around, that they could come around at any time, or is that long past because you're so used to the experience now?
Yeah, and then people that talk to me are like, wow, I can't believe how you could just, go through all this and be where you are. Now, it is definitely a process, and I've dealt with so many experiences myself and dealing with others, helping them, that it's almost like I'm desensitized to the subject. But don't get me wrong, this is still a very intense issue. Now, the fear isn't so much them. It's not, looking at them. It's the feeling that you get that is very uncomfortable and unfamiliar when they are around, because their energies are completely different. They don't just look different. They feel different. They communicate differently, and they get your body to a different frequency that we're just not used to. Now, never mind the vibrations of every cell in your body to be able to be transported through solid objects such as walls and ceilings and so forth. Now, there has been studies on it's just a particle that has been vibrated to a certain frequency that has passed through solid objects, but that is a very real thing. Now, frequencies and vibrations, that's the universe. The universe exists like that. We are energy. We are frequency. These beings are on a higher frequency. Now, that feeling that you were talking about that I wanted to get into too is the energy when you get around other experiencers. Now, that's your frequency that's matching theirs, and the more experiencers that are around, it actually elevates the frequencies all around you and affects everyone that comes into contact with you. So, it is a frequency that we like to call, the unconditional love frequency, which is what it is. It is an amazing phenomenon, and it's something that really needs to be looked into. And, people that are just coming to our conference just to learn, or that are curious, or may have seen or heard a radio ad and just want to come in, they are all transformed and affected by this. And that's part of the experiencer mission here, I think, is there's so many of us, and we like to say we're positioned like a chessboard. We are in different locations, and we are where we are for a reason. Now, if everyone was to get into that frequency at one time, and it's not just people, it's animals, it's the everything that lives, the earth herself, then we would instantly be uplifted into a more enlightening, people like to call it 5D or different dimension, where this is the 3D low vibrational frequency reality. Now, the powers that be, that we like to call the dark side, or, there's always someone against this. Now, the fear in the media and the fear that they soak this planet in, it's meant to do that because you vibrate at a lower frequency when you're in fear, and they don't want us to know how big this is or to be affected in that way. And, it goes so deep, and it is about control. There is a silent war going on. There's so much to this that, you can just crack the surface, and once you do, you're in that rabbit hole, and that rabbit hole continues to go very deep. And, for people like me who are triggered and guided and here for a purpose, and they know it, they can make life very difficult on us. And I've had my life put in danger several other times where the ETs will step in and assist me out of there. So, they know this. I don't know how many of us are, protected in that way, but we're here for a reason, and whatever that reason is, when it's all said and done, we're here with protection, and I think if I didn't have that near death, or if I didn't get saved after being, drugged and kidnapped by whoever they are, I wouldn't have this no fear attitude. It took a lot of fear to get rid of it, and that's kind of a strange thing, but you have to get to that point where fear is no longer an option. There has to be another way. And once you get to that, the end of that denial and that fear, and you feel that energy the first time, it's easier to transition to. But it is a process.
Audrey, I'm going to get you to hold on. We are going to hop out for our break here at the top of the hour. Audrey Mewins is our guest tonight. We are talking ET abductions with ET abductees, called Starborn Support. You can check out her website, starbornsupport.org. You're listening to Spaced Out Radio. I am your host, Dave Scott. We'll be right back.
Greetings and salutations, space travelers, from the Chronicles of the Unknown team. What is Chronicles of the Unknown? I keep hearing about this thing.
It's a new paranormal reality TV show based right here in beautiful British Columbia, Canada. Follow our team as we uncover claims of activity on the Caribou Gold Rush Trail. You can also follow us here every third Monday, where 2 members of our team will be available to answer your questions. We'll give you some equipment updates and some of our experiences on the road, right here on Spaced Out Radio on the Spreaker.com network.
Do you believe you've been in contact with extraterrestrials? Have you seen the Greys, the Mantids, or the Reptilians? I am Samantha Mullet, and on the second Tuesday of each month, you can listen and learn from my experiences with off-worlders on Spaced Out Radio's The ET Experience. With host Dave Scott, we'll sit down and chat about what's going on with our friends from other worlds. We'll also try to answer your questions, so please tune in on the second Tuesday of the month, only on Spaced Out Radio.
Are you interested in advertising on Spaced Out Radio? Head to our website at spacedoutradio.com and click on our advertising tab. There, you will find an assortment of ways you can get your product out there with us, from radio commercials to banners and social media. Have a product you like our hosts to endorse? We can do that too. Visit spacedoutradio.com for more details.
Did you know that Spaced Out Radio runs 7 days a week? Hi, it's James Tyson from Spaced Out Weekend. Every Saturday and Sunday night, starting at 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern, you can join me and my guests for some great chatter about what's going on out in the universe, or even in that dark part of the basement you really don't want to go back into. Well, let's find the answers to your experiences together. So come on up to Uncle Jimbo's cabin on the weekend. For more information, look us up at spacedoutradio.com.
You hear footsteps in the empty room above you. A rocking chair begins rocking by itself. Don't be afraid of the things that go bump in the night. Reach for Spirit Storybox, the iPhone app the Huffington Post UK called the only ghost hunting app you will ever need. Spirit Storybox. The spirits are telling their stories. Are you listening?
Attention Spaced Out Radio listeners. For only $5 a month, you can join Spaced Out Radio Space Travelers. Your membership at spacedoutradio.com will give you access to private fan area on the website, get you a monthly newsletter, draws for monthly swag, and a whole lot more. Sign up today to become a part of the Spaced Out Radio experience.
Right here, this is where we divulge the fruit of our research. Here on the Webster Phenomena every Saturday night at 8 p.m. Pacific, 11 p.m. Eastern on Spaced Out Radio. And we give it up to you guys, all the listeners, and the live listeners usually get something special and hang out in the chat room. And we love to have you. So we'll see you every Saturday night at 8 p.m. You know where.
If you're a fan of social media, you can follow Spaced Out Radio on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio. Give our Facebook page a like, Spaced Out Radio Show. You can also follow us on Instagram, Dave Scott, SOR. Our YouTube channel, where our archives are stored, is Spaced Out Radio Show. And of course, our website is spacedoutradio.com. Welcome back to Spaced Out Radio tonight. I am your host, Dave Scott. Good to have you all with us, including my neighbor Tony and his wife Brandy, who are listening in right now just down the road. Yes, we're pushing some serious alien juju their way tonight. I'm just kidding, Tony. Good to have you with us. Thank you so much for tuning in for the first time, because I kind of keep this whole thing a little bit of a secret of what I do. Why not? Before we explode. SpacedOutRadio.com has a brand new look. You can check it out by going to the website, spacedoutradio.com. Check out our features, our news list on the SOR Space Wire from Eric Markham. You can check out who's part of the team. Check out what's happening on Space Out Weekend with Uncle Jimbo, James Tyson. Check out our music band, Bumblefoot. And, of course, our affiliates that we like to be along with and we share time with and be a part of. And, of course, our SOR Space Travelers. Just $5 a month gets you into the private club in behind the scenes of the website. Yeah, we have a private section just for you. Check it out today. Reminder, you can follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio. Give our Facebook page a like, Spaced Out Radio Show. On Instagram, I can be followed at Dave Scott, SOR. Our YouTube channel is Spaced Out Radio Show. Subscribe to that to hear our archives. And our website is spacedoutradio.com. Tomorrow night on the show, James Borg and Audrey from Euphoria Chronicles. It's a double Audrey night, tonight and tomorrow, as Audrey the Pleiadian comes in to tell us more about what's truly out there. It's going to be very interesting indeed. Let's get to tonight's Audrey. Audrey Mewins from StarbornSupport.org. She helps experiencers out. It's kind of like a counseling session. She puts on conferences about this. I think she does some pretty incredible work, and I'm glad she's with us tonight. Audrey, thank you so much for being with us. How are you?
I'm great. Thanks. It's great to be here.
It is kind of good. And you know what? The one thing I like about the longer format is you really get time to get in depth with things. And, right. you know, listening to your stories, I'm blown away. And during the break, you didn't know that our Keith Andrews is a monthly contributor on this show. And he was actually at your conference last year when the Pleiadians walked in. Mm-hmm. He has taken a lot of heat for that because he has a picture of one.
Yeah, you know, actually, I just got another picture of him, too, sent to me. And because he was asked by this Pleiadian not to share it, the only way people will be able to see these pictures is if they actually look at the device that they were taken on, or the device now that I have on it. But it is out of respect for their wishes. I mean, how can you not do that? You know, they were comfortable enough to let him know and let us know that they were comfortable enough to be there and trusted not to share, you know. So it is something that people are like, oh, well, if you got a picture, well, you got to show it. No, actually, you don't. You know, we've got nothing to prove. Just because people they don't believe right now doesn't make it not true. So as the time moves forward and things are able to have light shed on them more so, there could be a chance where we will get to share things like this. But at this time, it was meant for, you know, the group that was there and in confidence. And it was a very interesting year. And I think this year is going to be even more so. The ETs, the Pleiadian in general, have been the ones that really guide me. So when somebody asks me, you know, why would they go to your conference, my response is, why would they not want to participate? This is something that they help to orchestrate. And they do that with direct contact and also different ways of sending messages. And, of course, there's the dormant information that unlocks. There's so much to this. It absolutely is mind-blowing when you really get into it. And, you know, like I said, once you go down that rabbit hole, it gets pretty deep and it gets really intense really fast. So the people that are quick to dismiss are people that have been socially conditioned to not believe. Now, these are people that have only listened to the negative Nancy's out there, only seen the fear parts, only gone that far, and they have not done any research. And being in the age of the Internet, there's a lot of bad info out there, but there is a lot of truth out there, too. So it's really easy to go in that rabbit hole and take a wrong turn, you know, but once you're on that path and things just start falling into place, there's no denying what's going on. And it's very hard to do this. And I think if I didn't go through everything I did, and everything now makes sense to me. It was a process, and it was all meant to, you know, unfold and be what it is today. It's, you know, basically whoever's writing the script is getting very interesting. So, you know, the synchronicities that go along with this are just mind-blowing. And last year, of course, this is our fourth year at the time. It actually was the end of the conference, and the lights dimmed for the Travis Walton documentary, the new one, to air. So the movie was just turning on. Now, this group of interesting people come in, and the thing that struck me was they absolutely seemed to have no concept on what money was. So they come through the door and get stopped by whoever was watching the door, and they were very confused as to what they had to do. So I think it was my sister that came and got me, and I looked at the group, and I knew, it was dark, so the shadows were kind of blocking the pigment. So I brought them in, and I needed to see so I could, collect and give them wristbands and so forth. So I brought them into a corner of the room where we had our vendor stuff up, where it was lit up a little more, and brought them under the light. And immediately I felt that they were different. I didn't even have to see that. That was obvious. And there was, I believe, 4 of them, 3 of them male and 1 female. Now, the one that Keith actually has the picture of said his name was Dawn, and he seemed to be the one in charge, but the woman seemed to be maybe his wife or significant other. It just seemed like that to me. He's there with this crumpled wad of money, just holding it out to me, trying to give it to me, and I realized that he didn't really understand, so I took him in the light, and then that's when I looked at the skin pigment of the hands and arms that were holding this money. And I didn't want to obviously stare and, make them any more uncomfortable than they already were. So I tried to talk them through it slowly. And I'm telling them, look, there's 4 of you, so take 4 of those. And I'm just pointing at bills. I didn't even want to get into this denomination is different than that. I just wanted to say one of those for each of you. And so the wife or the significant other was telling him, just give one of those. And she's kind of, repeating what I'm saying. And so he hands me the money, and, they walk in, and apparently they went over directly to Travis's table on the other side of the room, and Travis looked up, and he was funny. He told me, he said, I remember resisting the urge to ask them why they were so blue today. And they had some small talk, and, Travis was just wondering if they were enjoying themselves, and then they went and sat down. Now, several people had encounters, which Keith putting together the report. And, of course, he had the pictures, so we all get to the after gathering that we started a couple years ago, because nobody ever wants to say goodbye. That's the hardest part about getting together as a group, is you have to separate, get out of that energy, and go back into that negative frequency full of fear all around, that people are emitting. And it's hard for us, being empathic, being experiencers, and being loving, to deal with that. So we ended up bringing experiencers over. There was 50 of us last year to our family lake home, and we all just throw tents up, and we have a blast. And this year it's going to go actually for a couple weeks later, and eventually we want to make it open to the public experiencer event if we're able to. Right now it's limited space and invite only, but we're all able to see the picture and share stories, and everybody was just amazed. And then other things started happening. That was just one of the paranormal things that happened last year. But it was interesting, because as things were winding down and it's over and I'm in that space, the hotel calls me, and the manager of the hotel says, we got some things we got to straighten out. So we finalized some bills and had some small talk, and I could tell that he wanted to say something, and he said, Audrey, I'm just going to say something. I said, okay, He said, why is the hotel getting reports, emails, and phone calls about 4 blue people being in our lobby? So these are people that are not there for the conference. It's not like if you went to a Comic-Con and you saw somebody painted blue, you wouldn't call and ask why there are blue people there. You'd say, okay, they were painted. This was their skin color, and it did vary from Dawn was a more gray, a darker blue, and the others seemed to be a bluer blue. It was very interesting, and especially because in 2012, I had my first experience with a blue being. Now, going through history, and I believe, the Hindus and Krishna themselves, they're blue-skinned, correct me if I'm wrong, I believe it's Krishna that's one of the blue ones. But if you look, and you study this stuff, you see that there has been influence with blue beings in one way or another. And I remember this blue being in my room, and I thought that it was a gray. I knew there was somebody there, and I sat up in my bed, and I thought it was a gray because it was so short, but really, she was crouched down rather than standing, and I said, I know you're here, it's okay. And I see this little blue head, poke up her, and she was very hesitant at first, and she ended up coming up and sitting on my bed, and we had a conversation. I remember looking at her and saying, oh my gosh, this is great. I'm going to write everything down right away. I can draw a picture of her. And when it came down to it, as it does so often, the memories just fade so quickly. But I was able to remember what I was meant to remember. And, she sat there and she was telling me how I was doing and how they were monitoring the progress, and it was going really well, and they were proud. And and it was just amazing because at that time I'd never, had a report or really heard of, the blue beings before, and I started to look into it more, and there wasn't a lot of reports at that time, but now there's more and more coming through. So, I think a lot of people think of the Pleiadians as, blonde with blue eyes and so forth, but it appears that they've got different species just like we do with different skin colors and so forth. So it was fascinating. And, they walked differently too, almost like they were struggling with the gravity. It was, at first people would just look and say, oh, these people are drunk, what's going on? But there was so much more to that. And, people are like, well, why didn't I see them? Why didn't this? And I think that they can be very selective. And they could have been there the whole time, only letting people recall, what they want you to. So being an experiencer, I know that's a possibility. We've all experienced that. And there's more forgotten than recalled in most cases. So, I think everyone that is an experiencer, we're all part of the same goal. And, that's when we get into oneness and so forth. But we all have a piece of the puzzle. Now, let's just say we know that my lab is very highly reported with experiencers, and people that don't know what that is, it's military abductions. Now, we all know that there's been countless mind control experiences out there, and what if they could take an experiencer and access all the dormant information and learn everything by some kind of a mind control or a drug that makes you recall that part of your memory? Or, if they could get all the information stored in one of us, they would only have one tiny piece of the puzzle. They would have to do every one of us, millions of us, so it's one of those things where we're programmed with a piece of the whole. And as we come together, those pieces unlock, they collate. It's amazing when we come together because that energy boost kicks in and everybody's speaking a mile a minute. They're, really it's like a bunch of ADD kids, just blah, 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 blah. But it's just amazing because we're not only having the conversation with the person that we're looking at, we're also collecting the information through our other senses of all the other conversations. So things start to unlock when we're together and we start to put pieces together. And I think they're very frustrated with that. Since day one, when I was told to do this Experiencers Speak conference in 2012 was the first one, and they came to me and said it was time to do that. There has been a lot of resistance, which, to me means we're doing something right, but it is a constant battle, and they've tried so much to shut us down. They've hijacked my emails, my phone. They've stole my domain on the website. They've even started messing with my snail mail, So it's just like, oh, come on. It's really, really hard to get the word out there. But every year it seems to be the exact people that are supposed to be there are, and amazing things transpire. And, at the end of the gathering last year, and this was after one amazing phenomenon after another. These are just the two that we highlighted on this year with the blue beings at the conference. And as the gathering was winding down, there was about 9 or 10 of us left. Now, the energy is amped. We did some grid activations and clearing and preparing the land in that area. And, I don't know if you're familiar with Oregon Energy. We, gridded the area so it was ready for anything. Now, we had, UFO sightings there. We actually woke up, my sister and I, one morning, the first or second night in, and I had this burning on the back of my neck, and I looked at Travis. I said, Travis, why is the back of my neck burning? And he looked, and there was a triangle there. And he said, yep, it's a triangle. So we go out, and people are taking pictures. Well, my sister comes walking in and walks by, and she's got almost the exact mark, but on the opposite side of her neck. So, we get all the pictures of that. Everybody's, amazed by everything that's going on. People have personal experience. People have group experience. Well, this was, later on, there's about 9-10 of us left, and my sister and I were sitting on the deck, and on my parents' property on the lake house, there's probably about 20 feet of backyard, and then it drops off into this gully, which we now refer to as Fern Gully. There's a lot of ferns down there, and there's this little creek that goes through. Well, we're sitting there talking, not thinking anything of what's going on, and earlier we had heard something in the woods back there, and, I actually said, see if something's walking back there, see what you can see, and it sounded like something large, and when we looked back, there was nothing there. In fact, it was eerily quiet. There was no bird activity. It was a hot, stagnant day, so not even the rustling of the leaves or anything. Well, we go back to talking, and there's some people down the hill at the beach and people in various locations, the 10 of us that were left. And all of a sudden, this tree down in the gully right at the edge of the property line starts bending. Now, this is a young, live tree, and it just starts bending. We're watching this thing, and it's like something was either landing on top of it, bending it, or hanging, bending it. So this thing is loud. When a tree snaps, you're going to hear it, especially where we are there. The echo goes right down to the beach. So people are hearing this and starting to run up the hill to see what's going on. So there's nothing else moving in the woods except for this tree that's just bending by itself, and then it snaps. Now the top of it that was bent snaps off, and we have yet to find the top of that tree or the other half that broke. It is just not there. So we said, okay, got our attention now, and we're lined up along the edge of the little drop down. It's kind of like a little cliff, really steep. Nobody wanted to go in there because there's something going on with the trees, and we don't want to get hit by this tree. So we're watching, and we're seeing other movement in the trees. And at this point, we're like, okay, looking around and realizing, there's really no wind. So our rational minds are dismissing all possibilities. And finally, we're like, okay, there's something in the trees. Now, whatever it was heavy at first. It was a big one. And it was jumping from tree to tree, and you could see it was very much primate-like, and we all got that impression. And if you were watching a nature documentary and you were just watching monkeys and apes jumping through trees and you edited out the monkeys and just left the tree movement, that's what was going on in the trees. Now, we have a great guy that comes every year from England, and he comes running up, and we're like, telling him what's going on, and he couldn't believe it. He hadn't had a real down-to-earth personal experience that he could say, okay, this was something that I can't explain yet. And a lot of people who come there not experiencers are when they leave. So we're telling him, look, you go down there if you don't believe us. And he said, all right. He goes down to the bottom of the hill, and he looks up at the tree by the brook, and he says, all right, if you're up there, come on down. And one of the big ones starts coming down through the trees, lands in front of him, displaces, there's weight to this thing, but there's no sound, there's no smell, and it lands right in front of him, just thump, and he comes running up the hill. It's bloody effing hell, and he gets stopped at the top, and the people are like, look, they're friendly, so go back down. And he did. He mustered up the courage and went back down and had a very enlightening personal encounter with them. And everyone there had both individual experiences with these beings. There was more than one. Seemed to be two heavier and a bunch of littler ones. And they are still there. They it's almost like they're building a bridge across this little creek, because every time we look down there, there's more wood laying across the creek. And it was so obvious that my mom was having her yard plowed this winter, and the person that was doing it was like, is somebody building something back there? Like, what's going on? And we're just like, well, kind of. But they, whoever it is leaving gifts for my mom, too. They leave beautiful rocks that are shaped like hearts or crystals, and they put them either on her back porch, right on the steps, or right in the walkway in the front. And, it's a very, very amazing phenomenon. In fact, this year at the conference, David Chase, I'm not sure if you're familiar with him, he's an incredible artist. He's like a police sketch artist for ET. So he does a lot of the ET art when people are describing these beings, and he will be lecturing about this experience and how it's changed him. It's his first paranormal experience like this that actually changed his life. So, and that was something that I had never really even heard of before. So, researching, the similar encounters, and a lot of it, relates to like Sasquatch things. And I never before really thought a lot about, Sasquatch and UFOs. And I myself said, well, perhaps this is an actual ape that evolved without the missing link or the genetic boost from our ET friends that is just smart enough to stay away from humans. So, I'd never really put the two together, and so this year we've got a few people lecturing on Sasquatch and the psychic and UFO connection, and one of them has a website called Psychic Sasquatch, and the other one, I believe, is Sasquatch Revelation. And when I was led to this website, I'm reading some of the stuff, and there was this one post done by someone that Kawoni, who is the man who writes the website and the books, and he posted it from a Sasquatch psychic or somebody who gets communications from them. And in this posting, I think it was called Messages to Humanity. I may be wrong. That might have been another one on that website. But I'm reading along, and they're saying that Sasquatch is going to start to make themselves known. And when I looked at the date, it was the exact date that happened. So I was really, really curious about that. And this year they're going to be joining us and hopefully be able to shed some light on the beings in the Fern Gully back there. And we're also going to be planting trees as one of the activities with experiencers, because the property behind the creek was actually clear-cut and almost built on, but my parents bought it. So we're going to give the trees back to the forest and the beings that live there.
Make sure you bring some tobacco with you.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Sasquatch loves tobacco as a peace offering. Just wanted to put that
out.
Yeah,
it's interesting because, the natives have always done that. And we had an Apache last year that was doing the tobacco and pipe stuff. So, yeah, it's all... Yeah, it's all related. It's all connected, and experiencers are open to so many different forms of contact, and whether it be from the spirit world or Sasquatch, it does seem to go hand in hand. They're definitely all related, and there's got to be some kind of a portal or something back there, because, like I said, we never found the tree. It's just gone and got zapped into a whole other place, who knows. But it was so amazing to watch this huge tree just bending and going, like the tip of it just being pulled to the ground until it snapped. And
they are a powerful creature.
Yes.
Audrey, I'm going to get you to hold on here as we are going to hop out for a break here at the bottom of the hour. Audrey Mewins is our guest tonight. She runs starbornsupport.org. And we're halfway through the show already. Amazing. Goes so quickly. You're listening to Spaced Out Radio. I am your host, Dave Scott. We'll be back right after this.
Have you ever had an extraterrestrial experience? One you just couldn't explain? Well, maybe I can help. Hello, I am Samantha Mullet. On the second Tuesday of each month, I will join Dave Scott on Spaced Out Radio to bring a human aspect to ET contact. It's something I've lived with my entire life, and I'd love to help you understand. Let's share our experiences. The ET Experience, the second Tuesday of each month, only on Spaced Out Radio.
Fairies? Bigfoot? Dogmen? Trolls? Goblins? Hey, if it's cryptid in any way, I'm looking into it. Hi there, this is author Ronald Murphy, also known as Spaced Out Radio's Crypto Guru. Join me every second Wednesday of the month on Spaced Out Radio with Dave Scott, where we will talk about the stories people call tall tales. I will fill you in on the latest sightings and the hidden histories that are causing quite a stir. You can find everything at spacedoutradio.com.
Hi there, this is Jolene with Rivulet Reiki and Readings, and I want you to relax. Let me help you chill out and get in touch with your body, mind, and soul. In this busy world, sometimes we need to let go, and this is where I can help. Visit my website, rivuletrndr.wix.com/rivuletrndr, or my Facebook page, Rivulet R&R, to set up an appointment for relaxation, Reiki, or readings, no matter where you are. It's time for you to make time for you.
Would you like to expand your clientele? Have you ever thought of online radio advertising? Check out spacedoutradio.com to get your name out there. Our listeners support those who advertise with us, so why not give it a try? We have the most competitive advertising prices out there. Just click on the advertising tab on spacedoutradio.com and contact us today.
Are you an ET experiencer, but you just don't know what's going on? Are you too timid or shy to discuss it with anyone? Maybe I can help. Join me, R. Keith Andrews, the first Friday of every month on Spaced Out Radio, and I will help you to find the answers you're looking for. Together, I will help you understand the off-worlders and the true meanings behind your experiences. All you have to do is join us in the Spaced Out Radio chat room. See you there.
Every Saturday and Sunday night, as Dave Scott wanders aimlessly in the wilderness, you can come hang out with me, James Tyson, in Spaced Out Weekend. Starting at 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern, I'll take you along as we talk with some of the best experts in their fields. SpacedOutRadio.com is the place to find us. So sit down, relax, put your feet up. Enjoy the topics like the paranormal, supernatural, intuitiveness, and so much more. Hope to see you there.
Hi there, this is your psychic medium Joanna, and I would love it if you would join us every other Sunday on Spaced Out Weekend. With host James Tyson, we'll bring you personal psychic messages on two mediums and a large. Questions about love, life, career changes. We would love it if you would come and join us live. Call in and listen in for the experience. Allow us to open the doors to your other side. Two mediums and a large, heard only on Spaced Out Weekend at spacedoutradio.com.
Would you like to become one of our space travelers? All you have to do is click on the Space Travelers icon at spacedoutradio.com. For only $5 a month, you can get access to some great prizes, as well as private monthly shows, newsletters, and a members-only section on our website. Become a space traveler today.
Do you have a topic or a guest that you'd like to hear on Spaced Out Radio? Let us know at spacedoutradio.com, where you can sign up to become a Space Traveler member today. Or you can find us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on our Facebook page, Spaced Out Radio Show. Welcome back to Spaced Out Radio tonight. I am your host, Dave Scott. Good to have you with us tonight, listening in at spacedoutradio.com. Always a pleasure to have you with us. Hey, check out our new look website. You can check out our team. You can check out our music man, the guitar god himself, Ron Bumblefoot THAL. Little brother is watching. His album is what we use for the sound for this radio show. And you can listen to the show live. You could join our SOR Space Travelers, only $5 a month. And you can win prizes there as well. Hey, we're going to give you a heck of a lot more with your membership than just access to our archives. Remember, you can follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio. Give our Facebook page a like, Spaced Out Radio Show. On Instagram, I can be followed at Dave Scott, SOR. Our YouTube channel is Spaced Out Radio Show, and our website is spacedoutradio.com. Tomorrow night from Euphoria Chronicles, James Borg and his Pleiadian friend Audrey will join us. I highly wish you tune in for that one as well. Tonight's password, courtesy of Bill Cardwell in the SOR Space Travelers, Solicitous. Solicitous is the password for all of you in the SOR Space Travelers room. Keep up with that one. That one is a very important password for you tonight. Tonight we are talking with Audrey Mewins. She runs the Starborn support group out of Maine. She also has conferences dealing with experiencers. Audrey, welcome back.
Thanks. It's going fast.
It is. I told you it would. It does every night. I don't know why, but this show just flies by. Right before the break, you were talking about the Pleiadians that came into your conference last year. We know our Keith Andrews has a picture of it. A lot of people at this conference took a lot of heat over so-called making this story up. Now, if you have one or two, maybe three people in on it, you could get away with that. But as far as I know, there's over 20 witnesses to this happening.
Yeah, and those are people that went to the conference. Now, we also have the, 10 to 15 reports that streamed into the hotel afterwards of people that were just patrons at the hotel or coming to the restaurant and bar and just happened to pass these people, and it was enough for them to call and say what's going on. So, like I said before, if you go to a Comic-Con and everybody's dressed up and painted, nobody's going to call and say, oh, there's something weird here. But, this is not fabricated. It's coming in from the general public enough to make the hotel manager call and question me about this. And it's really interesting. And the Fireside Inn has just been wonderful and welcomed us back with open arms. The place we previously had several of our conferences at were intimidated by military and didn't welcome us back. So it's good that, these blue people reports are coming in, and it sparks interest and curiosity in them instead of fear. So that's good. We found our home for the conference, that's for sure.
Were you surprised at the anger, outrage, and hysteria that this caused on the social media community in UFO websites regarding the photo that Keith took, as well as the eyewitness testimony that people were giving on this?
Right, and that, like I said, one more photo did make it to us here. Somebody had just been taking pictures and kind of took one on the fly, and it took this person months to call and say, this may sound weird, but did you see those 4 people that were blue? I happen to have a picture, and they sent it to us. Now, social media, it's interesting that you go there. Now, you got to understand that this is huge, the biggest lie of mankind and cover-up ever in recorded history. So they're trying their damnedest to stop people like myself and others that are starting to come forward and talk about the actual truth. And there's actually people, we did a study over a year and a half of the social media and what we call the trolls. Now, these people are paid to just monitor these sites and go in and personally attack just to get the whole thing riled up. So the way I see it is when we get attacked like that, then that means that there's some validity to this. Now, it is just another way to try to sweep things under the rug and make experiencers appear and sound crazy. Now, there's over 20 witnesses that had the personal sightings and encounters with these people. And again, the people that are not, giving us access to them, but the hotel told us, how many there were and which way the reports were coming in and so forth. So we have that. And that alone, if it was anything else, would be good enough. But with this phenomenon, I mean, you can have thousands of witnesses, which many, many times has happened with UFOs, and that's swamp gas and weather balloon, and quick, let's make light of this and make these people look absolutely insane. And and that's the war we're in here. It's a silent war that's been going on for a very long time, and very successfully covered up. And a lot of the conferences and disinfo organizations are set up just to spread the lies and the cover-up. And, like I said, there's people paid just to spread gossip and lies. And, they get pretty dark. Like I said before, the kidnappings and Stan Romanak's case, we all know that he was set up for child pornography, and very successfully shut him down. And they keep delaying things, and I know for a fact that it was a complete setup. And what better way to get people to stop listening to somebody than to make them seem like the biggest creep in history with the
let's talk about that, because that name has come up a number of times on this show, and I agree with you. I do not believe that Stan actually put those photos on his own computer.
No, he didn't. And, we were talking and working with him in certain times before that, and, kind of watched all this unfold in a private way, being there for him and his family. And, I am very adamant about helping them, and we will be doing a fundraiser for them to, help them with this extreme cost that's coming forward and piling up on them. And it's just very, very sad that it had to go to that. But, that was an extreme example. In the past, there have been very mysterious deaths. John Mack was a big one, and when he was killed, not many people realized that on that same day, and also in an auto accident where he was struck by a car, was a homeless man in that same vicinity named John Mack. So they wanted to make sure they got the right one. So, I mean, it's just amazing, the things that happen, and the targeting of us. They make us think that we're insane by doing my labs. They're doing their own genetic stuff and procedures, and a lot of the really, really frightening things that occur in the experiencers' lives are just done by these MyLab programs to strike fear into the population of experiencers ourselves.
I want to talk about Stan for a moment, because I think you bring up an interesting angle there. My opinion of Stan, and like I said, I've never met him. I've only watched a few of his videos on YouTube. And do you think the reason why he was targeted for that is because he kept on challenging the government rather than being the regular experiencer who may talk about it out in public, but really doesn't get the government involved? Because he went right after the government on that.
Right. And, like I will. And that is their fear. What I tell people is all they have is fear and intimidation. And without that, they have no power over you. So they will create this scenario where, people will become scared and opinionated in a negative way about Dan and others that may, endure this kind of thing. Back when it was Betty and Barney Hill time, they would go out of their way to make things happen that if she reported, she would sound absolutely crazy. For example, breaking into their house and just pulling everything out of her closet onto the floor and just doing some strange things, knowing that if she said, oh my God, there's things going on, they're coming in, they're after me, that it's going to make their job easier, creating the insane experiencer stereotype. So, they target us, and the more that we resist and fight back, of course, it becomes, that battle, and we are on the front lines doing what we do. Now, I don't know if I could do what I do and be so fearless if I wasn't positive that they're going to step in and help me when I need it. They've stepped in several times, and it's the times that I'm going to die. So, when a few years back when I was, drugged and kidnapped, and we're not going to go into too many details about that, but it was a very coordinated event that they had been planning for a long time from the way it went down and took place. And when it came down to it, the ETs got me out of there themselves. And, there was reports of the place that it happened, 3 UFOs being there at that exact moment. And, so there was a lot of evidence that, I did pull offline. We were able to get the witnesses' testimony before it was covered up. But I've seen it. I've had it happen to myself so many times. They do not like the fact that I'm doing this conference. Now, ever since the first year in 2012 when the ETs came to me and told me to do this, I had never even been to a conference before. I had no idea what I was doing. Just like when they asked me to start Starborn, I was like, well, what am I going to do? I can't say no. So I think the first thing I did was open up a MySpace page and a phone number, and I said, there, I did it. And it just grew from there, and that's really all I had to do. But since the conference started, now what they explained to me is that this gathering of so many experiencers will act as a beacon in the conference itself, and will attract, like moths to a flame, and it really, really has. And there's been countless reports. Like the first year, I got an email after the conference, and there was a group of Russian experiencers coming over just for the conference, and they get into the town that the conference was held in, and were quickly stopped and then made to go back to Russia. They couldn't even make it in. So in the first year, there was just so much that went wrong, including the venue that we had originally planned to have it at closed a week before the event. And then, I was lucky enough to just start knocking on doors, and we were able to get this beautiful church that had been renovated into a nightclub, but it was in the process of being sold, and apparently the person who was losing it was affiliated with not so nice people, let's say a certain family. And, so it was really hard to tell this guy, look, I've got to do this, and I have to do it here, because we had advertised, I think the address was something like 28 School Street. This church was 38, and it was like literally there was a coffee shop and a bar in between, and then the church. So the address was, enough to just look like it was maybe a misprint, so it really wouldn't bring us down too much. Now, I hung a sign on the door of the old venue with an arrow saying, we're over here now, and, we had things out front making it visible, and the sign kept being removed. The next day, when we went to have breakfast at that little coffee shop in between, one of the employees came out and said, there was somebody over at the other building over there telling people that it was canceled or it didn't exist and sending people away. So we lost, a good half of the people that we could have had, but still it was a success. And then, after that year, we, moved into Portland, and, military harassment started, lies where this military was just packed into the hotel, and they actually, there was a couple of people that were in an elevator with one of the military personnel and asking, what's going on? Why are you guys all here? And they said, something about a recruiting event at the hotel. And, I cleared that up with one phone call after it was over, and asked pretended that I was a woman that had a child interested in their recruiting event at the hotel, and if, they could give me some details, and they were just like, oh, well, we don't do that here. That's all you had to say. Well, they were out there in force, and then the next year they were back, and the hotel was visibly shook. They were a lot different, and then, that was our last year welcome there. So they made it very difficult to come back. Let's just say our room rate was already high. I think we paid like $140 a night or something, and they jacked it up to, close to $300 a night to make it absolutely impossible to do. So, they've been against us since the beginning, but, like I said before, it means we're doing something right. And, it's not gonna stop, because they want it to. And if they, stop it from being a big event, then we'll do it in smaller size and just go somewhere and gather. It is something that will not end. It is, it may change over the years because of this resistance but it's also growing with experiencers that need this. So the actual gathering of experiencers is what's most important, and having the activations occur and that energy shift in the higher frequencies. And the more you have the enlightening things happen, the more you get together with other experiencers, the more enlightening your experiences are going to get. And when you start to resonate and vibrate at a higher frequency, then you can start to communicate with the higher realm beings and get more retention of memories and so forth. Now, and that's another thing with people that say that, oh, these ETs are bad and they knock you out, they come in and kidnap. Well, they have to, not only to protect us, but to protect them. And being telepathic beings doesn't just mean that they can, hear each other's thoughts. They pick up everything. It's telepathic, it's empathic, it's a full-on assault of their energy if you're in fear and in that lower vibrational frequency. So to kind of sedate and put the third person out is beneficial for all involved. So the higher frequencies are very hard to get used to when you're vibrating at a low frequency, but once you get to that point where you're resonating like that all the time, and that is very hard to do with today's society, and that's one reason that they have this constant fear being streamed out into the public, and they perseverate on the bad, and they create their own scenarios so they can to do this. And the media is huge into this, and we've also been messed with media too. And I think any experiencer who's had any chance to do some kind of TV, they have to be very, very careful, because there is the media is owned by these people, and there is rules and protocols to what they can and can't do. And our first experience with TV was with ABC. We did a show called ABC's Primetime Meet the Outsiders, and Stan Romanek and his family were also featured in this, along with many others. They had some really good stuff. In fact, they went to the Romaneks before they came to us and spent a few days, and they got some good stuff on film. And so the crew calls, and they're excited, and we've got all this stuff. We've got helicopters, we've got ET crafts, we've got strange stuff going on all in film. The world has to see this. Well, that's when they decided that they needed to fire and replace the entire crew, and came in and just created this nonsense. When we watched the show, it was just, devastating. And it was good that it was our first time, because I became very cautious after that, knowing what can and does happen. They completely, they spent 2 days with us, who knows how many days out with Stan, and there was a big gap. I think it was like a MUFON anniversary where they went out and they interviewed Kathy Martin and Stan Friedman, and they spent days with us and interviewed Matt Moniz, who is a scientist, and he's the one that we met on the craft, and they had some really good stuff, filmed a whole support group, and then all of a sudden it's this sleep paralysis show. It was just utter nonsense and really, really annoying. And, I should have had it in the back of my mind that, okay, ABC is one that cannot be trusted, and this was verified again to us, not last year, but I think the year before, when I decided, because the conference was going to be advertised on a show out here, like kind of What's Happening in Maine, nightly news, Channel 6, or 6 o'clock news. And so, that would be a great way to promote. Well, it was Stan Friedman and Kathy Martin and I had to be at the studio at a certain time, and we're racing around because we also have the meet and greet banquet at the Cryptozoology Museum, and that I'm running late for. So we go in, we finally find it, we find a parking space, and we walk into the studio, and it was all but tumbleweeds in there. And I'm like, wait a minute, what's going on? And this girl, it was probably just an intern, says, okay, let's come this way. And I'm like, well, where are the show hosts? to this show that they always have. Like, they're not here, so they did some kind of a silly interview, and I said, well, what time is this going to air? They're like, it's not going to air before the conference. And then it turned out that they aired a UFO debunking show in the same spot. So really that was, a knockdown. And when I thought about it, I'm like, what? I just didn't put two and two together, the network. So that is one that definitely can't be trusted. And we were going over a post actually from Ray Hernandez today in the Free group, and he was talking about how he had just done an episode, and it was that show Hangar One, which is nothing but disinfo and lies, and they totally twisted his story. And he was like, has anybody else experienced that? And you just, you have to feel for these people, but it is all part of it. And, you have to be very selective with what you do. And, they have ways where they've, shut down radio interviews many, many times, and that's just what they do. And, they started really getting dangerous and scary after, my picture of the, what we call the MIB helicopter got published in Kathy Martin and Denise Stoner's book, the Alien Abduction Files. And that, started this whole targeted individual thing. And it's really just ridiculous, some of the things that they do. I mean, there was a smear campaign put out a while back. I can't remember what year, but, they go as far as, saying that my sister and I were, involved in let's just call it a threesome with Richard Dolan, and they just spread that as information, and that's how easy it is to get people against the subject. They just have to have one guy that sits in his basement and does nothing else but monitor the internet and smear experiencers, and they start their stuff in the chat rooms, like you were saying earlier, like that whole thing with Porch, and it's what they want. There's 20 witnesses that were participating, and another, at least a dozen or more, that are reporting that weren't even there. I mean, what do people need? Of course, they want to see the picture, but it's been, asked very nicely not to be shared. It's not time yet. So, I think it should get interesting at this year's conference. Every year it gets a little more just fantastic. It really, really is. And people that dismiss and judge, well, come to the conference and see for yourself. That's all I have to say to those people is, you want to experience it, or if you want to see the truth, then come be around us. And that's all they have to do.
We're going to hop out for a break here at the top of the hour. Our guest tonight, Audrey Mewins, from StarbornSupport.org. We're going to get more into what Starborn Support is right after this break. You're listening to Spaced Out Radio. I am your host, Dave Scott. We'll be back right after this.
Become more intimate and interactive with Spaced Out Radio. Join our Space Travelers Club with your new membership. For $5 a month, we'll provide you with special access to the website, monthly prize draws from books to psychic readings, along with monthly newsletter, private interviews, and more. Sign up today to be part of Spaced Out Radio's experience.
Every month on Spaced Out Radio, we look into the deep and dark reports of cryptids roaming around the world with me, Rob Morphy, from Cryptopia.us. I would love it if you would join me and host Dave Scott as we delve into the most arcane stories and reports regarding creatures of the unknown. My job is to hunt down the details and bring the evidence forward to you. These aren't your regular Bigfoot stories I'm talking about either. You can find out more about crypto history at spacedoutradio.com.
Looking for a place to advertise at a very reasonable cost? Look no further than Spaced Out Radio. SpacedOutRadio.com has an advertising tab that you can click to check out our daily, weekly, and monthly packages to play on the radio, or our website including social media. From commercial spots to banners, we have it all. Check out our competitive pricing today.
You hear footsteps in the empty room above you. A rocking chair begins rocking by itself. Don't be afraid of the things that go bump in the night. Reach for Spirit Storybox, the iPhone app the Huffington Post UK called the only ghost hunting app you will ever need. Spirit Storybox. The spirits are telling their stories. Are you listening?
Strange creatures lurking in the night, the sounds of wood knocking in the forest, odd happenings right out of a fictional world. These are the reports I love. Hi there, this is author Ronald Murphy, and I would love it if you join me and Spaced Out Radio host Dave Scott the second Wednesday of every month on our journey into the unknown land of cryptozoology at spacedoutradio.com. From Mothman to Frogman and everything in between. Hey, they don't call me the crypto guru for nothing.
Is the 24-hour world starting to wear you down? Let me from Rivulet Reiki and Ratings lend you a hand. Hi, this is Jolene, and if you're in need of Reiki or a realm reading, come to my website, rivuletrr.wix.com/rivuletrr, and let us help you out. At Rivulet, I specialize in healing your body, mind, and soul, no matter where you are. And be sure to check out the Rivulet R&R Facebook page for your best deals. Remember, it's time for you to make some time for you.
Find yourself constantly looking up in the sky, looking for answers? Have you had extraterrestrial contact? Are you an abductee? Looking for answers to your experiences? Hi there, I'm R. Keith Andrews, Spaced Out Radio's resident ET expert. Join me live the first Friday of every month where I take questions from the Spaced Out Radio chat room and help you understand those from the far-off world. It's 2 hours of knowledge every experiencer should listen to. Hope to see you there.
Did you know that Spaced Out Radio runs 7 days a week? Hi, it's James Tyson from Spaced Out Weekend. Every Saturday and Sunday night, starting at 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern, you can join me and my guests for some great chatter about what's going on out in the universe, or even in that dark part of the basement you really don't want to go back into. Well, let's find the answers to your experiences together. So come on up to Uncle Jimbo's cabin on the weekend. For more information, look us up at spacedoutradio.com.
Would you like to connect with us on Spaced Out Radio? Head to spacedoutradio.com to check out the latest shows, guests, and sponsors. And don't forget to sign up for the Space Travelers Club. You'll find all you need at spacedoutradio.com. Welcome back to Spaced Out Radio tonight. I am your host, Dave Scott. Good to have you with us if you're listening in the SOR Space Travelers on Euphoria Chronicles, Chronicles of the Unknown, or Forest Moon Paranormal, SHR Media, and the Spaced Out Radio chat room on Spreaker. Good to have you all with us tonight. Absolutely appreciate you taking the time to do this with us. Tomorrow night on the show, James Borg and Audrey from Euphoria Chronicles will be with us. We're going to talk Pleiadians, as Audrey is not from here. She's from out, or he, I should say, is from out there. Remember, go to our website, spacedoutradio.com. We've hooked up the new site. It's looking marvelous, great, fantastic, any type of adjective you want to put in there, and take the time to join our SOR Space Travelers. $5 a month gets you into the club. We got swag to give away. We have monthly newsletters, private area on our website for your stories, videos, audio, pictures, and a heck of a lot more. Hey, we're going to give you a heck of a lot more than just access to our archives. Tonight we are talking with Audrey Mewins. She is from starbornsupport.org. She deals with experiencers on a daily basis. Audrey, welcome back to the show.
Hi.
Tell us a little bit about what the mantra is behind Starborn Support.
Okay. Let's see. 2004, spiritual awakening near death brings me back to the Northeast. I'm located in Maine now, but we do cover anywhere. It's really growing now. They came to me in 2006 and told me it was time to begin my work here, and I, like I said, didn't have any clue what to do. I had no desire to make this what I do because, it was so hard to deal with just finding somebody to help me and then everything that I was going through, where now, I'm in that situation where they're asking me to do this huge thing. And, part of me was like, okay, like I said, I'll start the MySpace page and put a phone number. And it did. It just grew from there. Now, originally it was, a hotline with myself, and, within a year we had to have other people come in. We, had to really start organizing and the phone calls. It was a 24-hour hotline, and it just rang off the hook. And, it's always 3 a.m. somewhere, so my phone was just blowing up. And I just realized that this is, really huge, and there has to be access for people to get help and communicate with each other. Now, we started some support groups here in New England, which met monthly, and the people just kept coming and coming. So I ended up having the chance encounter, or the strange synchronicities bring me together with Ray Hernandez. And right now we're branching out and reaching the various groups in the United States, over in Australia and overseas, that are also helping experiencers in one way or another. Now, the goal is to have one hotline or one way of contact where the experiencers can be monitored and protected and not attacked as easily. People that used to go for help would be just beat down by people that are there to, make you feel crazy and make you shut up. So we're people that are, making help and understanding possible. And that's a big threat to, those that have been trying and spending lots of money to make this go away. So as the experiencers start to wake up on a mass level, the numbers will speak alone eventually. But right now it's about giving them a platform and a safe place to go for help. We've started a huge therapist list that we can pull from, and, it is a list that all the groups involved can put right on their site. And the goal is to have the call come in, trained staff start to handle this call, and reach out to the person nearest to them that can give them the best type of help that they need. Now, of course, be doing this for 10 years, people say, oh, you must get a lot of crazy people calling. It's like, it really hasn't been that bad. And even the people that may have an underlying problem with either mental health or just drug abuse or something, we don't say, sorry, can't help you. We will, look into some kind of help for them in another, realm, whether it's finding a psychiatrist in their area, to get a screening, which is highly recommended. And one of the things is, get a psych evaluation done. Do that. Do that for yourself. Do that for the people that are going to be coming at you and calling you crazy. It's just one more thing to have in your arsenal, to have, I've already done that. Get a medical screening, make sure there's nothing medical going on, So, but those people aren't thrown to the curb. They're, assisted in other ways. So to have this access to the vault of help is going to be huge, and we're just starting that right now and introducing ourselves to the various groups around the world to make this an international coalition to help experiencers, because there is just far too many for any one or two or in any individual group to help, and we don't want to have anyone slip through the cracks. And it's hard because with me, all they have to do is monitor my emails and keep them from me. And with the conference especially, every year it's been getting less and less people contacting me, and what they do is they wait till the conference is over, and then they flood my emails with all the ones they held back, as if to say, ha, this is what you missed. And it's a very spiteful way that they do these things, and they make you know that you're being monitored, watched, listened to, and they, how many people you haven't been able to help because of them. But there's the ones that do come in, and there's more and more, and with more doors for them to enter and end up at the same spot, it will be harder for them to monitor. But, with the technology age and the NSA monitoring everything we do and say, it's hard to go under the radar, especially with this phenomenon. So It's just a matter of increasing our own front lines with, people that aren't encased in fear and, moving forward, because if anyone can figure out that the 1% is a smaller number than the 99%. So all we need is double their numbers to, totally outnumber them. We could equal their numbers and have a fighting chance. But once enough of us start to wake up and say, hey, you can't silence us all, it's just a huge thing. And, we're working on various ways to get the experiencers, to feel safe, whether it be in the privacy of a support group or on stage. It's totally up to the individual. And I found throughout the years that the people that are really, really the most scared to come into the support group or to the conference are the ones that do the best. They come in and just have a total light turn on, and they talk more. Usually they'll be like, well, I just want to sit there. It's like, fine, it's anonymous. It's everything is confidential. You can say what you want. You don't even have to say your name. Just, come in and sit. And like I said, they all end up doing very, very well. People will call. Some people call once and feel great just having one person listen to them and not tell them that they're nuts, and to get that off their chest. So when they realize that this person is also relating because of personal experiences, then it unlocks that next chapter, and then they find out how many people, and that there's actually a group that meets, that they can go meet these people and experience for themselves, their own selves and their own awakening. It's very intense and amazing process that occurs when we all get together and start to open up. It is. It's really amazing. And the strange things that happen that bring us together, the synchronicities, and, it's just we end up shaking our heads with the commonalities and, different things that start to come forward as we meet every year. So it's great. I wish we could have, one place where, whether it be an island or a plot of land where we could all live and, be off the grid and be happy, but that's not what we're here to do. We're here to bring that love energy and that higher frequency to this planet in order for this planet to transition to where it should be. And that's, the 1111 laws, the oneness, the unity, that everything exists for a reason, is connected to everything else. And, it's huge. And for people that have been conditioned and mind-controlled and put into that fear, seeing any farther than, what's right in front of them is impossible. So to turn on the lights and to get that rabbit hole door open, just to take a peek is harder than it seems. But it's happening. And even if we help one person at a time, that's all, eventually over time, that one person turns into two. And, everybody that comes through here brings that knowledge with them and is transformed and helping others. So it is a domino effect that's really illuminating the reality of the truth in the situation that we're in right now.
There's a lot of people out there who have negative experiences. Yours have been more positive. The experiences I have had personally have been positive. Mm-hmm. How do you define the two? Do you define them as two separate types of entities that are taking people and having their way with them in one section, but on the other way trying for spiritual enlightenment with mankind? Or do you box them all together and say an experiencer is an experiencer?
Well, if there's an experiencer is an experiencer, but there's different types of contact, there's different types of experiences. Like all contactees, or all abductees are contactees, but not all contactees are abductees. Those of us who have been taken and so-called experimented on and been, part of the hybrid program, that of course is scary, and that's where, it really gets to the confusion and fear. And like I said, for most of my life, I was in there, so I understand that very traumatic part of this. And without any kind of understanding or help or knowledge or knowing that anybody's out there, it's impossible to deal with within yourself. I've always had my sister, so I was lucky in that perspective. And now, other people in the family are starting to, I like to say awaken and become enlightened on the subject. And, it's just, when it comes to the types of experience, I think, for every experience there is a purpose, and there is a purpose that is benevolent behind it. There's things that have to be done that, on a human way of thinking, is not is against our rules and our ways of things. But again, like I said, if we were going to try to protect a species in the wild that was endangered or doing something to threaten something around it, then we'd have to, today do the testing. I mean, we take genetic samples, we take eggs and different things, and we do all that to other species. What makes them below humans? Nothing. They're just a different form of species. So, people that have encounters with the Greys, I think they're the doctors, scientists that have to do the hands-on stuff. And then, you start to have the experience. If you're part of the hybrid program, then maybe you'll be introduced to some of your children, and there is still fear there, but there's also that love side, and there's a connection there. And I think with each experience, it grows and it enlightens you more, and it brings you to that higher frequency where you're eventually going to get understanding. And again, those that are against us, the enemies, we just call them MIB, they're men in black, and whatever the definition is, they're the enemy. They also like to do the MyLabs to us, and that makes us fear them. So, what better way than have everybody scared to death to a point where they cannot grow in a spiritual way? And, keeping that fear in there is the off switch for any further understanding. And they know this. You can't possibly get to that understanding being in that low frequency of fear. So to balance the two out and to get to that point where, okay, it's happening for a reason, there's nothing I can do about it. You have to, fake it till you make it, then do it. But there is a huge purpose for this, and, it is about restoring balance and protecting this earth, which is part of an ecosystem, which is the universe, which is connected to everything. I mean, the earth herself is living, breathing being, and only for as long as humans have been here has she began the devastation that she's under by one species. So, you have to think outside the box and say, hey, humans, okay, they think that they're the smartest, the best, the most powerful, but just that process of thinking that, puts them at a level that, is already below any of the other life forms here. So to think that they are the only ones that belong here and they can, destroy habitat and take and not put back, that's just insane. Most of them see no further than their own lives and their own pockets and what's in their house, what they own. They don't understand that this is so much more than, the 9-to-5 slave game. And, those that have power and are in control here right now are, the only ones that profit from this. So, to make a more scared and controllable slave race to them so they can stay in luxury and be the elite, that's just a sick thing. And, people just have a hard time accepting things they can't understand unless they put it in a way like when you go to church. There's so many religions, but that's all about control by fear. And to keep them, believing in that and to put just little bits of the truth here and there and to keep them in fear that if they don't follow these laws, then they're going to burn in this very horrible place for eternity. I mean, what better way to keep the average human here for 80 years, listening and being good little humans, and to get the actual truth that, this is just a blip in time. And when you start to realize that, everything's connected, and there's so much more than just the abductions. There's the, these various species. There's the interdimensions. There's so much more to it, and to realize that it's all connected and that we are all one and everything is part of the whole. It's hard to get to that point, but with baby steps and just being around others, experiencers can get a boost and start to understand quicker. And that's why we gather every year, because it does give you a jump, and it does get everybody on that same level where we're resonating together and everything makes sense, even if it's just for that week, and the energy takes a while to die down, but it's hard to keep, like when you're surrounded, like I said earlier, with the negativity and fear everywhere. So, to have the support group is a place where we can come and get that boost of energy again and go out there and take that with them. And that's, I think it was Barbara Lamb maybe who did some research and wrote a book about, experiencers and what the majority believe that they're here to do. And that is to, spread the love, the enlightenment, and get humanity to that transitional stage of, acceptance and the truth. And it has to happen.
I have a question from Joe in the SOR Space Travelers. Joe is a frequent listener to this show, and recently he's not sure what's going on with his experiences, but it seems to tie in with a lot of owl sightings at his house. Do you buy into the whole owl theory that many people claim is out there before they are about to be visited?
Oh, yeah, 100%. In fact, he can read a book that just came out from Mike Cleland. It's all about that phenomenon. It's called Messengers, and he's a regular with us. He's part of the Starborn family, and it is definitely one of those things, whether it be a screen memory or just, when people are looking at those eyes. The owl represents wisdom, and, it's intense with those eyes. So, many experiencers will have this kind of encounter. I mean, there's some people that are like, well, there was a 5-foot owl, but there's no such thing as a 5-foot owl, So he really gets into the that whole phenomenon. So I highly recommend Mike Cleland's book, Messengers, and it is available on Amazon.
Have you had other experiencers in your group talk about owls?
Oh, yeah, everyone. It seems like that just goes hand in hand. And, of course, when we're all together, there's owls present, and we'll always hear them, and we may not see them, but they're always there. And, the animals, too, they respond. And animals, people think that they're more advanced than any life form here, but they are more advanced than us. They're already at that point where they're telepathic, where they can, communicate, and they live with just what they're supposed to. They exist without taking too much, and everything is there for a reason. So for humans to think that they are above everything and cut all that down, that has taken many billions of years to become that, and to wipe it out in such a little time, is very sad. So the animals also will respond to the higher frequencies. And, when we were younger, before we were tainted by the conditioning and lies, and we were, enjoying this, and this was normal for us, we also always and still do have a connection with Mother Nature and animals. So, there's been a lot of crow and raven reports too, where some people believe that they are one of the messengers, or perhaps shape-shifting ETs that come in. But I know from my personal experience that when I was being regressed back in 2006, before Starborn started, one of the things that happened where we were sitting around the kitchen table, and there's a window, and right outside the window is this tree, and Matt Moniz, who was filming, his jaw drops open, and he just points out the window, And there was literally hundreds of crows in this tree, every one of them just dead staring at us in the window. And the film is somewhere. I think somebody still may have a hard copy. I'm not positive because that was some of the stuff that mysteriously vanished. So, but that was a very intense thing with them being there. And when experiencers gather, the animals come too. You know, it's that energy of love. It's the Garden of Eden. That's what I call our energy, is the Eden energies. And the Eden energies have to come back here, you know, before things can transition and go to where they're supposed to be. I mean, basically, humankind and Earth is being held back by, you know, a 1% group of beings, whether they're human or not. You know, it's got all those speculations about, you know, the royal family and reptilians and, of course, all that David Icke stuff. And, you know, it could have some truth. Who knows? But whoever they are have done a very good job at, you know, keeping this Earth and evolution itself from happening. So, you know, so they can stay happy in their life. So it's just very unfair, and, you know, humans, it's very successful at the same time because, you know, humans truly believe that they are free, but really they're not. You know, they only have that little piece of property they think is theirs until they can't pay for it, you know, and then they're gone. It's like you never even existed. So, you know, nothing should belong to anyone anyway. I mean, everything here is for everyone, and there's everything we need to survive was given to us here because we're part of that ecosystem that keeps things in balance. Well, balance is way off right now, and, you know, when it comes to the point where it's threatening the outer universe, there has to be some kind of intervention to prevent that. You know, I mean, humans are dangerous, very dangerous, and, you know, to be a threat to an entire planet and then some is just quite the feat. And I don't think that that's happened ever before. At least, you know, hey, could have. Some believe that humans have, you know, gotten to this point before, and you know, once they get to that technology advancement that they, you know, start playing with the matches, you know, they end up blowing themselves up or whatever the future has in store. I don't know, but I also believe that time travel is related in this too. So, you know, whatever's coming that we're part of, I think has been planned for a very, very long time. It's going to get interesting, folks.
We're going to take our final break of the night. Audrey Mewins is our guest tonight. StarbornSupport.org is her website, as she helps experiencers learn what is going on with them during their experiences. You're listening to Spaced Out Radio. I am your host, Dave Scott. We'll be back right after this final break.
Are you an experiencer? Have you had run-ins with strange creatures you can't explain? ETs, Dogman, Bigfoot, werewolves? They're enough to scare the daylights out of anyone. Hi there, I'm Butch Witkowski from your 4-Cop. And on the last Monday of every month, you can listen to me and the host, Dave Scott, talk about the weird and the strange being reported on Spaced Out Radio. I'm going to bring my investigations and sources, you bring your experiences, and we'll figure out the rest together. Strange Days on Spaced Out Radio. Come tune us in at spacedoutradio.com.
Are you interested in advertising on Spaced Out Radio?
Head to our website at spacedoutradio.com and click on our advertising tab. There you will find an assortment of ways you can get your product out there with us.
From the radio, commercials, to banners, to social media.
Have a product you'd like our host to endorse? We can do that too.
Visit spacedoutradio.com for more details.
Visit purpleplates.com today. For over 40 years, the Purple Energy Plates have been delivering amazing results for their many customers. Inspired by the great genius Nikola Tesla, the harmony, healing, and energetic effects of the plates have proven over and over to be beneficial and often miraculous to thousands of customers. With their money-back guarantee and the many benefits, how can you afford not to get one? Check their site for daily specials and choose from their many energy products. You won't be sorry.
Right here, this is where we divulge the fruit of our research. Here on the Webster Phenomena every Saturday night at 8 p.m. Pacific, 11 p.m. Eastern on Spaced Out Radio.
Attention Spaced Out Radio listeners. For only $5 a month, you can join Spaced Out Radio Space Travelers. Your membership at spacedoutradio.com will give you access to private fan area on the website, get you a monthly newsletter, draws for monthly swag, and a whole lot more. Sign up today to become a part of the Spaced Out Radio experience.
Strange creatures lurking in the night, the sounds of wood knocking in the forest, odd happenings right out of a fictional world. These are the reports I love. Hi there, this is author Ronald Murphy, and I would love it if you join me and Spaced Out Radio host Dave Scott the second Wednesday of every month on our journey into the unknown land of cryptozoology at spacedoutradio.com. From Mothman to Frogman and everything in between. Hey, they don't call me the crypto guru for nothing.
Greetings and salutations, space travelers, from the Chronicles of the Unknown team.
What is Chronicles of the Unknown? I keep hearing about this thing.
It's a new paranormal reality TV show based right here in beautiful British Columbia, Canada. Follow our team as we uncover claims of activity on the Caribou Gold Rush Trail. You can also follow us here every third Monday, where two members of our team will be available to answer your questions. We'll give you some equipment updates and some of our experiences on the road, right here on Spaced Out Radio.
Did you know that Spaced Out Radio runs 7 days a week? Hi, it's James Tyson from Spaced Out Weekend. Every Saturday and Sunday night, starting at 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern, you can join me and my guests for some great chatter about what's going on out in the universe, or even in that dark part of the basement you really don't want to go back into. Well, let's find the answers to your experiences together. So come on up to Uncle Jimbo's cabin on the weekend. For more information, look us up at spacedoutradio.com.
Missed most of tonight's show? Don't worry, you didn't miss a thing. You can head to our website, spacedoutradio.com, and download our archives for free. And don't forget to get your Space Travelers membership today. Now, back to tonight's show. Welcome back to Spaced Out Radio Tonight. I am your host, Dave Scott, live 7 days a week, 3 hours a night, starting at 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern Time. You can listen to everything on spacedoutradio.com. Check out our new look website. Hope you like the music. That's from the former Guns N' Roses guitarist Ron Bumblefoot THAL and his solo career. He kicks butt for us on a nightly basis with his rock and roll. You can also join the SOR Space Travelers Club, where for only $5 a month you can enter to win prizes. Check out the private section on the website that is just being built, and we need some material on there, and that's where you step in. We're also going to be giving you a monthly newsletter, private interviews, and so much more. It's a lot more that you're going to get than just access to our archives. If you want to follow us on Twitter, you can do so at Spaced Out Radio. Give our Facebook page a like, Spaced Out Radio Show. On Instagram, I can be followed at Dave Scott, SOR. Our YouTube channel is Spaced Out Radio Show, and our website is spacedoutradio.com. For the final time tonight, we bring in Audrey Mewins. She is with starbornsupport.org, and we are talking about experiencers. And right before the break, Audrey, we were talking about owls. And you have an interesting story.
Yeah, I do. The book I was mentioning, written by Mike Clelland, Mike was a presenter at Experiencers Speak a couple years. And the year we started the Experienced Experiencers gathering, afterwards, we leave the hotel and we all get to the house and everybody's kind of just winding down and get everything organized where everybody's sleeping, and we're just sitting on the porch. Now, again, this is a hot, humid, stagnant day where there was really no wind, and out of the woods, out of the corner of our eyes, we see this feather coming, and it's not falling like gravity's pulling it. This thing's like being steered like a drone right over to the porch, and it just lands right at Matt Moniz's feet, and we're all looking at this, and picked it up, and it was an owl feather. Now, right after that, we were focusing on 1111. That was part of our meditation exercises and the oneness, and so 1111 was the focus that year. And Suzanne Chancellor, another experiencer, she went down to the beach, and it's daylight, and there's a little island right across that she was taking pictures of, and she sees on top of this big dead tree at the center of the island this big bird, and she had zoomed in, and there it is, a big owl just watching everything going on, and she takes a picture of it. So she gets up to the camp and starts showing people the picture, and it's photo number 1111 on her camera. So she had, 1,111 pictures, and that photo in particular was of the owl. So, that was the beginning of the high strangeness for that year. But it is very interesting, and his lectures, I believe, can be accessed on YouTube, too. And it's definitely, he's got some really good points about that. And the amount of experiencers that speak of owls is, it's just a number that you can't ignore. There's something going on there. And then they do, like I said, represent wisdom, and then there's strength in silence. They're everywhere, but you can't hear them, and that's the reason we realized it was an owl feather, because in between the regular feathers is extra down feathers, and what this does is it helps to stop the wind, so it can be a silent flyer. So we put the feather right on the refrigerator, and the strangeness continued. But it was a very, very good thing. And we do a lot of things when we get together. It's not about just hanging out. We like to focus and give to the earth. We like to like I said, do the grid work and work on different things. And of course, we do the UFO vectoring, which does happen every year. So, the first year we had a really nice big ship just illuminate in the sky, and a lot of the people that weren't experiencers, that was the beginning of their paradigm shift. And one of them was a 40-year seasoned MUFON investigator / skeptic. And he, since he started, coming around us, has had, one thing after another, and he's going through his transition from that skeptic, hardcore, nuts and bolts guy to the, oh my gosh, there's something to this. I've investigated over 400 UFO sightings. That one there cannot be explained. And he'll sit there with his phone that says what satellites are coming, what's this and this and this, and he'll have all this data, and everything that happens is not a satellite. So, he's proving to himself still, at the same time battling this change, and it's huge. I mean, once you have your first experience, or the first conscious experience, it does begin to transform who you are, and you're basically reborn. When I went to that ocean that day, I always say I did die there. I mean, that old me ended right there, and I came out a new person. And, it's just been so amazing. And the contact was no longer just, abductions and this horrible, loss of control. It was, the vision started. It was the starting to see things in the future, having things start making sense. They send communication in many different ways. Some people hear it as if someone's standing right next to you. I have a combination of all of them. Sometimes it's like it's a radio in your head. Sometimes you will get almost like a Morse code fluttering in one ear, or there's the high frequency pitches in the ear. There's so many different ways, but after we get together, it really increases because your energies are higher. So, the messages come in, and it's just a matter of getting everything written down. They come in really quickly when you're at that, vibrational frequency. And, of course, being together for so long and not sleeping really, you get that almost shaman vision where they would fast and, sleep deprive themselves so they can access some of that information. And really comes in. And, one of the messages that Grant Cameron's going to be adding to one of his books that came in to me, that came in two different segments. I got one half first and the second half afterwards. But the first part was after deep cover, and they made this clear that this next sentence was spelled a certain way. It says, after deep cover and great disguise, disguise spelled D-I-C as in flying disc, eyes as in E-Y-E-S. So after deep cover and great disguise, we will recognize the oneness in each other. The Creator returns when the oneness is recognized by all whom were created. So there's a lot going on here, and, you know, people can look at it however they want to. It is biblical. It is on that realm, but it is only pieces of the truth that exist in religion. Like I said, it's been altered and shifted for control purpose. But, you know, there's also the speculation of, say, Project Bluebeam, which is these false hologram alien invasion that they want to, you know, deploy to make people fear and to make it seem like an invasion. They're not here to help us. They're here to harm us. And it's all part of that. Now, it's a very interesting thing, but the ETs will not accept that, you know, and basically they've said, you know, if you fake it, we're going to make it, you know, and they said angels don't play that harp, which is harp, the weather modification. So my own personal feeling of the chemtrails, I think there's several purposes here. The first is the, you know, most widely talked about conspiracy theory, which, you know, they all come from truth, is, you know, this spraying of chemicals either to, you know, make people conform more, dumb them down, whatever it's for. But you also have to think that the hologram, during a holographic alien invasion, they're going to need something to reflect this hologram back. So when you're looking up at the sky and it's a white sky, well, there's a lot of proven reflective materials in these chemtrails, which are aluminum, barium, and it was supposedly one of their excuses is to reflect the sun's energy back from the earth to help prevent the greenhouse effect or slow it down. But if you think about it, it's been years of them just creating a giant movie screen. So if that does happen and they do try to do that, they will incorporate the false coming of Christ and use it for their own benefit. The ETs themselves told me that the way to distinguish, which we can pick up some heat-sensing technology, whether it be a camera or a scope for a rifle or whatever, and the real craft will have a heat signature. The holograms obviously won't. But, you know, they've been playing around with this tech, and, you know, they have things that people wouldn't even want to think about out there. You know, these the low-frequency weaponry and things like that, and it targets people for, you know, control. And, you know, the whole fluoridation in the water, that's another thing that has been, you know, known to be a submissive and mind control thing. So, you know, they put it in everybody's water. So, you know, they're creating the perfect slave to keep them comfortable. And, you know, it sounds like, you know, it's, oh my gosh, it's so, but it is. It's really that big, and it's universal. And, you know, the ETs can't save us. And you know, it's so funny because everybody's like, well, why don't they come and save us? And what I tell them is, what makes you think that you're the only ones on this planet that's worth saving? What about that last rhino over there, or that freaking animal that's already extinct? And animals are being taken, and life forms are being taken every day. Why should they come and save people when there's one cause to all the other Earth's torment? You know, and I believe they've been coming here for a long, long time, trying to teach and trying to reinstill the truth and give people the information that they need to go on. And over time, with the lies and manipulation, it's just been covered up countless amounts of time. Now, Roswell, everybody thinks, oh, the UFO crashed. No, I don't believe that. I believe they gave them the UFO, and the technology within that UFO could have been used for free energy and positive things. But of course, you know, mankind being mankind, they wanted to create weapons and see what they could do in a negative way. And that's not okay, you know. I mean, benevolent species out there, they don't want to have to harm. And if they can, they want to, you know, assist. So to give us all the answers, that's not what it's about. It's to put humanity back on track and connected with everything that they're disconnected from. And it's as simple as removing your shoes and connecting with the planet in a small area to let that energy flow through you. You know, we've all got rubber soles on our feet, you know, so we're totally disconnected with all that is. And to bring back that connection and that love energy is what it's all about, to restore balance everywhere.
Do you think then when it comes to experiencers that they will finally get the disclosure that they deserve, so that way the remainder of the world can finally find out that the people who have seen and have had contact are not crazy, they're not a bunch of wingnuts wearing tinfoil hats?
I think the experiencers will be the disclosure. They're going to be the ones that bring in the truth. And the way that they told me is, you know, Starborn support is going to, and everybody involved will act as ambassadors, which, you know, will help the communications. It will help the actual, you know, physical. Okay, this person looks human, and there's no, you know, most ETs, they've, you know, they're humanoid, but they don't look as much like humans as maybe the Nordic and the Pleiadian races. So the Pleiadians are, you know, in the front runnings here, dealing with, you know, the human race. And, you know, we refer, as experiencers in Starborn, we refer to ourselves as the ground crew, because we're here working on the ground, and they're doing their thing above, and we're working together, and to bring in truth and understanding as uninvasively as possible, and as, you know, lovingly as possible. But it is going to shatter religion. It's going to have everybody in fear, because they already believe that it's going to be an invasion, and it is going to be chaos. So to have what they're doing and using the experiencers as their ambassadors, we're positioned everywhere, again, like the chessboard. So some of us aren't even at the beginnings of their awakening yet, because it has to happen that fast. I think when the truth hits, they're going to wake up everywhere, including in our militaries, including in our governments, including in positions of power, and they're just going to understand that this is not the answer. So, you know, to come in and violently clean up and get rid of the human race, yeah, they could do that, but they're not. They're doing it in this gentle a manner as possible, understanding that it's not humanity's fault that they are this way, you know. So let's hope that after the initial fear and shock, that people will be open to understanding, and there's so many experiencers everywhere that there's going to be help and assistance for them. You know, experiencers will be helping the human race at that point. And, you know, I think that this has been a long time coming, and there's a lot of things that have had to be stopped as far as nuclear weapons. Even the Hadron Collider just it won't work. Gee, wonder why. That machine itself is looking for other dimensions. But I believe there's a darker purpose for that. You know, I think they're trying to open up a door that they shouldn't be opening, and so, you know, there just seems to be one thing after another that makes this thing not work. And, you know, we've all heard about, and this is proven, that the UFOs have been known to disable nuclear weapons. So, you know, to stop the kids from fighting and to listen and all just get along is hard to do just, you know, in one situation, never mind the whole planet. But to bring us together as a species and not as, you know, separate humans, because we've been separated by so many different things, by religion, by color, by sex, by everything. I mean, everybody's in their own little category and fighting with everyone else, but that's what they want, is separation. Unity is the danger. Unity, love, and togetherness is what they don't want. So that is, you know, what we need to work for and to bring to this planet to get that uplift. I mean, if everybody just for one day was, you know, just to be nice and loving to the people around them and their arm's length for 24 hours, that shift would be so powerful that that's all it would take. So to keep everybody fighting in the sandbox is what they want, when everybody joins hands and say we are, we're all one. That's what they don't want, and that's why, we have to, do what we can to get that to happen. And little gatherings and groups of us are, slowly increasing that frequency, but once there's bigger groups and happening all over the place and positioned across the grid, it's going to happen faster. So that's what's going on, I think, now, because doing what I do for so long, you can see the waves. And now working with others all over the world that do this too, there is, if people even knew the amount of people that are being affected by this, the people themselves, there's people, celebrities, lawyers, doctors, people in politics, everywhere. So, and of course it's confidential. So, behind the scenes, you're just like, whoa, but, to those people on their couches looking at, evil, bad ET movies and so forth, they're, not seeing any of that. They just see what's in front of them and what's being shoved at them with propaganda and lies and media and so forth. So it's a mind game, it's a control game, and the answer is simple, and that's just unconditional love for everything and everyone. It does sound like a hippie thing, but they were on to something. They really knew. And when you are in a group, like come to the conference, experience or speak, and feel it for yourself, you'll never be the same, and you'll never want to function in the way life is right now again. And you'll want to make a difference and want to do your part. And that's what humanity really is. They've just lost touch with that.
Do you think, though, that if disclosure were to happen, that it would be smooth? You mentioned that you think it'll be the experiencers who disclose. Other people feel it has to be a government official. Maybe the president, maybe the Pope.
Right. There has been progress in disclosure in other countries, which, like I said, in 2012, I think there was 24 other countries that already started the process. So it has been a drip-feeding kind of conditioning, getting people to, know they're here. But again, they want you to think they're here for dark reasons. But, when it does actually happen, the energy shift alone from everybody activating, it's going to be hard to ignore. Now, of course, there's going to be threats and war and invasions thrown at everybody to try to keep them in chaos, but the energy of love is definitely going to outpower it, and people that are going to be scared. It may be at the moment of, that's the only hope. Maybe that's the only way that humans can get it and wake up as quickly as they need to. But again, it's going to be as gentle as possible. There could be something completely, that we don't even think about that's going to happen here. And again, I think they have the ability to time travel or at least see future and past events. So they may know something that we don't. Well, they know many things, obviously, but there could be another threat. We don't know. But whatever it is, we've got to come together in, again, unity, united as a race, as a earthling, as, this is the home. There's no planet B. This is it. We're here, and once this is gone, what's going to happen? So, it's Earth will always rejuvenate and recover. But at this rate, it's not a natural thing at all. It's being caused. So to prevent future things is going to be an issue. But if you think about it, the human life is 80 years, let's say now. So if this happens now, in one generation, it will be the norm. So the chaos will last just a second in time, just a blip. And then with the truth out there, what are people going to fight about? Who was the most wrong? People need to learn to adjust and to live in the new way. And it'll be, before you know it, people will be forgetting that, this way of life ever existed. And it will happen very fast. So, I think for humans, they think that, it's such a long time, but, the universe is billions and billions and billions of years old. Who knows? I mean, it could be infinite. And so for this little disruption to just, blip, get taken care of, and then altered, it's not going to take a lot, just in our lifetime, but then our children are already being born at a different frequency. So, they'll call them star kids or indigos or however you want to call it, but it is the new way. A lot of them with the ADD diagnosis, they are just not wired to learn the lies that are being thrown at them through the conditioning of schooling and, the religions and so forth. So they're just, they're already in touch with everything. So the future of humanity is being born right now and has been. So they're done whatever they had to do genetically through the hybrid program, through whatever they're doing to experiencers to, bring this on. But again, it's, let's fix it and, get the balance back. It's all about balance, and it shouldn't take long, and, the whole scope of things. So it will be disrupting and scary for this generation, but again, that's one generation. So, it'll be history before we know it.
And just like that, we have about 2 minutes left with you. I would love it if you could take a couple of minutes, Audrey, to tell us where people can find Starborn support, what it's all about on your website.
Sure. We're starbornsupport.org. We've also got the Experiencers Speak website, which can be accessed from our events page on our website, Starborn Support, or you can go to experiencerspeak2016.blogspot.com. Schedule's up. It is August 26th and 27th at the Fireside Inn and Suite, 81 Riverside Street in Portland, Maine. You can reach Starborn Support Hotline and get information about the conference and come be part of this by calling 207-461-0628. I'm also on Facebook as Audrey Starborn Mewins. You can look up Audrey Starborn and Starborn Support and see the 10 years of progress and different things that we've done over the years. And if you want to be part of the Starborn Support family, the conference is a great place to start. And if you're an experiencer who's scared and still hiding, come forward. It's a safe place to do that. We are very protective over our experiencers, and it is a family. So there's really no fear here, and we accept you as you are, and we can help you blossom into the experiencer loving energy that you have inside. So it's kind. Come out wherever you are.
Wonderful, my friend. Thank you so much for being on Spaced Out Radio tonight. Absolutely pleasure to have you break down Starborn Support and everything for us, Audrey.
Wonderful. Thanks for having me. It's great.
Take care.
All right.
Audrey Mewins, starbornsupport.org. What a great show. Man, is she tuned in. That's all I got to say. I would love to get to Portland, Maine for her Experiencers Conference. Our Keith Andrews, who is a regular on this show on the first Friday of every month, he'll be on this coming Friday as well to break in July on Canada Day. Yes, I'll have my Maple Leaf on. We're going to break down a lot more information regarding ETs. They're out there. We just got to find them. Or maybe they have to find us. Remember, you can follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio. Give our Facebook page a like, Spaced Out Radio Show. On Instagram, I can be followed at Dave Scott, SOR. Our YouTube channel is Spaced Out Radio Show, and our brand new look website, spacedoutradio.com. Getting a lot of compliments on it. Easier to listen to the show when you go to the home page after Mr. Bumblefoot introduces you to the show. Former GNR guitarist Ron Bumblefoot THAL, the official sound of Spaced Out Radio. Tomorrow night, make that James Borg from Euphoria Chronicles and Audrey will join us. We're going to be out, up, and at it, talking more Pleiadians, more extraterrestrials, more disclosure. That's kind of what we've been doing this month, thanks to the Alien Cosmic Expo that took place last weekend in Ontario, Canada. We will be back in exactly 21 hours from now. I hope you tune in. Check everything out at spacedoutradio.com. Join the SOR Space Travelers. Be a part of it. Be a part of our team. We need you. We want you. Mr. Bumblefoot, take us away. Good night.
This is the new totalitarian state. 1,000 eyes are waiting for you to break. Stay in line, don't make a mistake. We're watching.